to getting you the medications you need without the runaround. When everyone around you is sick and you know you have to be prepared, or when you don't want to wait in line for maintenance meds, you absolutely need All Family Pharmacy. They've got antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, ivermectin. Order online at allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. On this Thursday, Donald Trump has issued a greatest hits album that may hit #1 with a bullet. I realize that's a terrible pun, but the world is definitely awaiting what regime will next sing a swan song. Another absolutely brutal play on words, sorry. It is likely to be Iran. The current Ayatollah is rumored to be checking out the Moscow political asylum situation that Syrian villain Assad embraced. Putin loves bad people and seems to be recruiting them to live in Russia, where the current temperature is 2 degrees. That is beard freezing territory, Imam. The Persian people seem to have had it with their government, which will execute you for attending the junior prom. The national pastime in Iran is throwing gay people off buildings. Over in Cuba, the communist government there is very shaky because no one has any money, and now cheap Venezuelan oil is gone. Yes, like the Persians, Cubans have put up with brutal conditions for decades. But President Trump's aggressive foreign policy is emboldening the persecuted. Greenland is not at that level, so I don't expect a change of government there. Let's leave those people alone. All of this foreign turmoil is confusing the anti-Trump brigades because it's hard to sympathize with drug merchants, communists, and terrorist regimes. Senator Chuck Schumer's trying, but it's a heavy lift. You might want to just hum along, Chuck. Back in a moment. Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Have you noticed that the big question these days, nationally, internationally, locally, what's next? Internationally, what's next for Venezuela? What's next for the Caribbean? I mean, what's next for Cuba? We don't know what's going to happen with all of the moving parts. Nationally, of course, everything happening in Washington, D.C., from the Obamacare subsidy question to many other aspects, fraud, investigations, things like that. So a lot of what's next, and that includes Missouri as well. Hey, good morning, Mike Ferguson. Of course, Susie and I were at the state capitol yesterday for yesterday's program, and we were joined by Governor Mike Kehoe, and that was the big question. Now that we are into the 2026 legislative session, 4.5, 5 months or so of a lot of policy and political work. What's next for the state of Missouri? And here's what the governor told us.
All right, opening day 2026. Now in St. Louis, that typically means we're talking about Cardinals baseball.
You're right.
Which sometimes is a lot more fun. But it could be an important opening day here at the Missouri Capitol. I'm Mike Ferguson, joined, of course, with Susie and Joey V, keeping things running up here at the Capitol while Jerome is in St. Louis. Opening day 2026 for the Missouri legislative session. Also have Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity with us, and we're joined by Governor Mike Kehoe as well. Governor, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for being back on the program here.
Good morning, and I
I can assure you that opening day of the Cardinals game is way more exciting.
That's right.
I just want to go on record as saying that.
Well,
Haven't been to many.
This could be a pivotal legislative session. I mean, they're all important. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and you've been obviously in policy work for a long time as well. It seems like conservatives are sensing a lot of momentum. There's a lot of expectations that we have some big conservative things done, because last year, frankly, it was shown that it can be done. What's your read on the mindset of the Republicans in the majority and the dedication to get some of these biggest things done in Missouri this year?
I mean, we have obviously a supermajority in both the House and Senate. All of our statewide office holders are Republicans, and I think we're kind of coming into our own on how we work with each other. We've seen some times in the past where we had these majorities, but we weren't exactly figuring out a way to mesh and move forward together. I believe that's starting to happen a lot better now than it has been in the past. And you're right, Missourians elected, not just me, but the people that are in the House and Senate and the other statewide office holders to get some conservative wins done. And they want bold moves. And so we believe we're ready to put that agenda forward, and it will be the best thing for Missouri.
Governor, one of the boldest moves that people are talking about, of course, is what we're going to do with the income tax reform here in Missouri. What do you want Missourians to know as far as what you're looking to do and what they can expect?
Well, what I want Missourians to know is I have a firm belief, 35 years in small business, born and raised in the St. Louis area, by the way, that I believe that you and Missourians can spend their money way better than any elected official, including me. Mm-hmm. And if we put that money back in Missourians' pockets, I'm really comfortable about how they'll spend it and what it will do for our economy. And by the way, the number is nearly $9 billion with a B, and it would be annually. I mean, It's not like a one-time shot. It would be that money would go back into some people would save it. I have a few relatives that they still have their first communion money.
Wow.
But a lot of people are going to go, add on to their house, buy something for their kids, pay for tuition, use it to get by. And it's their money. It's not our money. And I say all the time that, we raise, even though I'm from North City, I'm into the cattle and horse business. If you put feed in front of those animals, they'll keep eating. And in this building, if you keep putting money in front of people, they'll keep spending.
Sure.
How do we do this? I mean, obviously, I know we're waiting on the specifics of your plan, but the criticism that we're seeing, obviously, from the Democratic side, and then the media pundits will dig through everything. And they're saying, but if you eliminate the income tax, then that's X number of dollars, and oh gosh, our roads and public safety and everything else. How do we balance that and have the right revenue for the things government should be doing?
Well, we're going to do it a responsible way. We've seen other states who have tried it that have not had a good plan to roll out. Our plan, as you pointed out, will be rolled out next Tuesday. But look, there's not a lot of magic to it. We have said we're not cutting essential services, so we're not going to cut. Although there'd be a lot of people who want to do that, we responsibly can't cut $9 billion out of the budget, but we can replace it with other revenue streams. What that looks like, we'll outline next week, so that we have a series of incremental triggers in there, so that as your income tax down, another revenue stream might come up, and we'll get to the point, and it'll take 4 or 5 years, we think, to get to zero, but we'll eventually get there. And we believe you have to embrace the fact that with zero income tax, your economy will grow. And so the trade-off is you get people's money back in their pockets, and then you use that for economic development, businesses coming here, people who are retiring stay here. I'm the father of 4. My youngest daughter, who lives in Dallas, Texas, thank God, I'm glad she finally aware what taxes and a job is. But she's like, Dad, I'm not coming back. We don't pay income tax here.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting what catches people on the radar screen. So that's my general belief.
My son lives in Florida. Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing. Right.
Yeah. You alluded to this. Other states that have perhaps tried this and not done as good a job of it as they would have liked. The competition between the states, obviously with Missouri situated where it is, how do we build on that? How do we build and see what other states around us have been doing and then bring growth to Missouri?
Well, we definitely will. And listen, actually this afternoon or late this evening, I'll be with Governor Sanders down in Arkansas. But I'm fortunate enough to be on the executive committee of Republican Governors Association. First time a first-term governor has been able to get in that spot. But I've built some really good relationships relationships, especially with the governors who have the zero income tax states. And they know we're coming for them. And the competitive environment is fierce out there. And so you want to be able to break through the clutter. And so we have multiple different qualities here in the state, as far as shipping, transportation, good work ethic, quality of life, just an amazing array of things that would attract a company to expand or move here. But those governors that walk in that room and start with, and guess what, your employees won't pay income tax in my state, that's a conversation we never can get our foot in the door on.
We're visiting with Governor Mike Kehoe. And when you talk about the additional revenue streams and the extra economic activity, I think history shows, especially in places like Tennessee and North Carolina, that that's the case. Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick is saying you also have to look at the spending, not just reducing the growth, but actually cutting the spending and reducing the actual year-over-year numbers. Is that even possible in politics anymore?
And that's what some people in this building, and especially the media, are having hard times getting their arms around. They're like, how can you say you're going to cut the budget and you're going to cut income tax? You can do both. Both of those things need to be done in a conservative, in my mind, somewhat business mentality that we need to have more of here in the building. Is the budget has grown exponentially, mainly for the last 5 or 6 years from COVID and federal dollars that have flow through.
Yes.
I'm starting to learn to talk this morning.
More coffee.
So anyway, you can do both. And that's what I'm saying. We can right size our budget again, get the spending under control. We're going to make some tough decisions this year and start to right size that budget and produce something that delivers more economic development. Look, you'll hear me say next week, one of the things I'm going to say, we're going to have modest growth next year. The last several governors, no matter what party, they've said we've had no growth or modest growth. I want to have a State of the State speech that says we're hitting it out of the park. We're having growth like you've never seen before. And you have to do economic bold moves like the zero income tax to be able to make that statement.
The saying is it's the economy is stupid, and it is, but there are other issues that are front and center for people too, like public safety. What message do you want Missourians to have regarding public safety and policing and law enforcement in Missouri?
Yeah, we built our whole campaign in our first session out of public safety, a Safer Missouri plan, we call it. You'll hear more of our Safer Missouri plan this year in our public safety session. We passed one of the largest bills that's ever been passed for public safety last year in record amount of time, led by a couple of folks right in your backyard, Brad Chris in South St. Louis, Nick Shore and others, who gave 24 tools to law enforcement that they didn't have before to literally unhandcuff their backs and start handcuffing the right people. And our saying so goes today. We want it easier to be a cop than a criminal. And we've made some great strides. You've seen we've made some actions in St. Louis that have made a big difference. It takes time to turn around the city, but I'm from the city. I'm very passionate about getting that done. And the ripple effect of what happens in St. Louis City and St. Louis County and St. Charles County really is felt across the state. And so we need to make sure we have public safety measures across the state. We need to understand the importance of how much we need to have the east side of our state really in a better spot.
What's the next step in that that public safety, that law enforcement, now the state oversight board? Because there still are some things that have to be confirmed on paper still, right?
Retention and recruitment. The boards that I put in, the members that we appointed, which were all city residents, by the way. So the governor's not running this board. Their city residents have been there for some of them for generations. 2 or 3 of them small business owners, by the way. Recruiting, retention. You can't move the needle on crime in the city when you're 325 officers down. So we need to do that. By the way, a lot of law enforcement agencies are short across the state. Senator David Gregory, again from St. Louis, sponsored Senate Bill 71, which is the Recruitment and Retention Act for law enforcement and public safety officials, where we're actually offering to pay tuition for those folks for their own education or for a child's education. So we've one of the first states in the union to do that, by the way. We're developing tools for all law enforcement to be able to use to bring people back to understand being a police officer is a noble business. They protect our communities. This whole craziness that we had 10 years ago about defund the police and the cops are bad and everything, that's nuts. And that's not the society we live in, and Missouri is not going to be that way.
Governor, you recently got a shout out from the president with regard to rural health care in Missouri and securing funding for that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had a great team, put a good application together. I got to give a shout out to Jason Smith, our congressman down in CD8, Congressional District 8, is very involved in the big, beautiful bill piece and very involved in that, as well as Senators Hawley and Schmidt were very, very involved in helping. Missouri was one of the top 10 states to be awarded those dollars, and it really is a rural health initiative. Our healthcare system across the country is strained, but in rural parts of the country, including Missouri, if we want to continue to grow and have our agriculture presence, which is our number one industry, we got to be able to offer healthcare for rural Missouri. It's really, really important. And it's important to be able to have some sort of healthcare facility in Dunklin County, but you also have to have excellent healthcare at the Siteman Center, because the treatment you might need for cancer is worth the trip to get to a world-class facility like that. But having a local physician and nurse be able to treat that early diagnosis, that's the key. So that Rural Healthcare Initiative Award that the president's talking about, we are very fortunate to be awarded that. And again, we had a great team working on it.
Just got a minute or so left, Governor. Obviously, President and his administration is saying we want all the states to show more verification documentation as far as health and human services, funding. Obviously, this is a result of the news about the Minnesota daycare scandal. Some states are having their funds paused. How confident are we that Missouri is handling that pass-through money the right way and would withstand an audit?
You mean the Learning Center that spelled the word learning wrong?
The Learning Center. Yes.
I was trying to figure out how to pronounce that word. Excellent point. And we do not face the same issues that Minnesota did. We're not a sanctuary state. We do not allow sanctuary cities. That is just a mess up there, is the best I can say. We make sure that we have a system of checks and balances. And I agree with the president. We need to make sure at all levels, every occupation, that we have the right people that are here, tax-paying citizens, that we're not carrying the load for the folks that got here in the wrong way.
All right, Governor Mike Yeo, thank you so much. Obviously, legislative session launches today. The state of the state is next Tuesday?
Tuesday the 13th. It'll be 1 year since I put my hand on the Bible. So we thought that was a good day to have a year recap. But we appreciate you guys coming to the Capitol and helping spread the conservative message with our friends from AFP. She's a rock star. You should get her,
we're aware.
Yeah, you should get her autograph.
I know. And a lot of people don't know this, but she's also a mouse racing champion as of
That
now.
is true.
Did you win last night?
She
I did. Milton Fried mouse.
Oh my gosh. She named the mouse.
She did.
She named the mouse.
She did.
It's incredible.
All right, got some thoughts on that? Let me know. 314-912-1019. We had a lot of very interesting conversations at the state capitol on Wednesday. If you want to check out any of those, just go to the News Talk STL podcast. Look up Mike Ferguson in the morning. While you're there, by the way, be sure to hit subscribe so you can get the notifications when we upload some new discussions, because it might be something you want to send to your friends and especially to your political enemies so they can know a little bit more and maybe even change their mind. All right, this is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Want to get involved in any of our conversations today? That's easy. Give me a call, 314-912-1019, or shoot us a note on the Rumble chat box on Facebook, or tweet at us at News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
Hi, this is St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder reminding you to check out my new show this weekend.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
That's me. Every Sunday evening at 5, we will explore with you behind-the-scenes stories and information that you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, we talk to decision makers and influencers that have impact on what's going on in St. Louis County and beyond.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. If there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around. And I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, here we go again. Will Minneapolis burn again? And here's the thing. Did you see that press conference with Tim Walz? He was basically calling under the leftists to stand with us against us. So kind of in the vein of what J.B. Pritzker was doing, which then ended up after that having more violence against federal law enforcement. Tim Walz, I guess he's got nothing to lose. He's not running for re-election. At first he says, as you always do, protest peacefully. I'm like, what do you mean, as you always do? They burned your frickin' city down once. Yeah. And you praised him for it, you moron.
And Jacob Fry was calling to mobilize the National Guard against ICE prisoners.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. That's insanity.
That's unreal. I've got a clip from him here in a second as well. All right, so I'm sure everybody's seen the video by now. A woman was shot and killed by an ICE officer after she was driving the car right at him.
Yeah.
And here's what's fascinating to me is that I've seen 3 different angles because everybody has their phones now at it. All of them show the exact same thing. And depending on your political perspective, you see 2 wildly different things when we're all looking at the same video.
Yeah, the amount of people that take the side view where you don't necessarily see the officer in front of the vehicle, the one that fired the shot, and they're claiming that the one that was being driven away from was one that shot. I mean, it takes 3 seconds to fact check this stuff. Nobody can be bothered to do that for some reason.
Right, and then you look at the other angles and you see what happens. So here is the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, being asked about this.
ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle.
Yeah, and Jacob Fry, the soy boy mayor of Minneapolis, wanted to be Mr. Tough Guy. Here's part of what he said.
Get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Yeah. Nobody is scared of you. Nobody's scared of you, soy boy. Nobody. Nobody is. And so is it a tragedy that this woman's life was lost? Of course it was. And Tim Walz says, and we'll have this soundbite a little bit later on, this was so preventable. It was so preventable. Don't try to box in law enforcement as they're doing their job. And when they tell you to get out of the way, get out of the way. And then, I've heard it argued, she was probably scared just trying to get away. Maybe, I don't know. But the bottom line is she had the vehicle in reverse. She saw the lights, and then she put it in drive and drove directly at a law enforcement officer who drew his gun and fired. And there were 2 shots that were fired. And it went right through the window. You see where the bullet hole is after the vehicle crashed. And so this was entirely predictable. We've been telling you that this is what's going to happen as this mindless leftist violence has been the response.
Yeah, don't put yourself in these sorts of positions and in these scenarios, and this would not even happen. I mean, she also, now it's coming out that she has a child that is now without a mother because of her own direct actions and choices.
And it turns out that their father died years ago. So she was a single mom. And so there's some connection to Kansas City. They lived in Kansas City. I don't know. That's irrelevant to the story, to this. But we're going to talk about this a lot. You got some thoughts on that. We've got plenty of time to get your opinion on it. We don't know everything, so leave room for that. But the video seems fairly clear when it comes to the officer. And at 6:35, we're going to talk to former police chief Tim Fitch and get the law enforcement perspective on what happened.
So I hear an out-of-towner asking someone, where's the best place to eat? Before they could respond, I said, Cafe Napoli. Where? Well, I said, Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and then you got Napoli Kirkwood, plus you got Napoli Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. You'll find Napoli everywhere. It's not too early to book a party and buy gift cards. Cafe Napoli.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. On behalf of Tim Jones and I just want to thank you for making Jeffco Patriot Radio the #1 listened to show on Sundays here on News Talk STL, where we dive into all the things happening in and around Jefferson County. Check Tim Jones and I out on Jeffco Patriot Radio this and every Sunday at high noon here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
What are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
Well, what are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. Don't you remember me? Don't you know that we miss you?
Miss me? Who misses me?
You know, all your friends in the forest. The trees, the pond, that little fort that you made out of branches. We all miss you.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
The forest is not that far away. Have an adventure today. I'm sure your mom would take you.
You're right. I should get out. I want to have fun. Play in puddles, catch frogs, and climb trees. Hey, Mom!
Yeah, hon? Steven, what is that in your hand?
It's my sense of adventure, Mom. It's telling me we need to get out of the house and have some fun in nature today.
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason.
People need to stop using their vehicles as weapons. The words of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem following the fatal shooting of a motorist in Minneapolis. The driver was shot dead by an ICE agent who was among officers trying to enforce federal immigration law when suddenly a vehicle came at them. Noem vows that these kind of incidents will stop.
I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained on how to use their vehicles to implement foreign operations and then to run over anybody who gets in their way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety. And Americans deserve better.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz blames the Trump administration.
What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear.
Noem says the agent involved in the shooting was no stranger to this kind of violence.
In fact, the very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June.
President Trump is proposing a big military spending hike next year.
On the heels of the U.S. military operation to capture Venezuela's leader, the president wants a $1.5 trillion defense budget for 2027. That's an increase of more than $500 billion from the current budget. The president cited troubled and dangerous times for the higher request. In a social media post, he wrote, "This will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to." Greg Clugston, Washington.
There have been no arrests in yesterday's deadly shooting in the parking lot of a Mormon church in Salt Lake City. 2 people were killed. It happened during a funeral taking place inside the building. Watching Wall Street this morning, Dow futures down 154 points. NASDAQ futures are off 58. More on these stories, townhall.com.
What if 2026 could be the best year ever for your retirement? It can when you take control of your financial future with physical precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD right now and get your free gold rollover kit valued at $49, yours just for calling. More Americans than ever are discovering the power of rolling over a portion of their IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver. With a simple, tax and penalty-free rollover, you can add stability, security, and strength to your retirement. In times of inflation, uncertainty, or market swings, gold has been a steady, tangible, proven store of value. And in 2026, it could be the key to building the retirement you've always imagined. That's why so many people trust Advantage Gold, the #1 rated gold IRA company in America for 10 years running. Call 800-741-GOLD to get your free gold rollover kit. Call 800-741-GOLD and let 2026 be the year you finally take control. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741...
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Need promotional products or apparel for your business? Look no further than Blue Sky Promotions. This woman-owned, locally operated company in Bridgeton specializes in anything and everything promotional. From branded apparel and uniforms to custom giveaways and marketing materials, Blue Sky Promotions has you covered. Whether you're looking to stand out at a trade show, build brand awareness, or reward your employees, Blue Sky Promotions has the solutions you need. Visit BlueSkyPromotions.com or call 314-739-3531.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Is there anything in your life that is not Trauma Olympics?
Susie Moore.
Get out of here and stop playing victim.
Get up, St. Louis?
There's no crying in baseball.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, are we going to see another round of leftist protest violence after an ICE officer shoots the woman who was driving a vehicle at him? To some people, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
To others, I'm going to try to be hopeful and say it's a matter of if. But we'll probably have our answer today.
Yeah.
I
think so.
Yeah. All right. We've got a lot that we'll cover on that throughout the day here. And also, I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well. The illegal alien who killed a St. Louis police officer learns his fate today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's today. Also, Blues played a hockey game last night. That's really the best I can spin it.
Yeah.
That's the best I can do on that.
I feel like the bad guys won that one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was ugly.
Someone's over there grinning.
I know, yes. Yeah. And so
I did not say a thing.
We saw that satisfied, smug grin on your face.
Oh, good God. All right, 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and start off with a news dump here.
Successful dump.
Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, we're going to give you plenty of time throughout the day if you want to weigh in on this one here. Federal officials holding a press conference on Wednesday in Minneapolis where a woman was shot and killed by an ICE agent as, here's the thing. The news copy here says, as she allegedly tried to ram him with a car. Well, the video clearly shows the car was going right at the police officer. That's not even in dispute.
Yeah, I think the issue there,
Right.
if I'm going to be really specific, is
Which
the
I
language.
Yeah.
Tried to ram implies the intent, and we don't know what her intent was.
Right.
But we do see the car going directly at the officer. There's no question.
Yeah, it was in reverse, then it was in drive, and it was going right at him.
Correct.
So that's and then the officer fired the shots there. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem asked about basically the protocols of using deadly force.
It's clearly established law that a vehicle driven by a person and used to harm someone is a deadly weapon. Deadly force is perfectly lawful when a threat is faced by a weapon. So I do believe that this officer used his training in this situation.
Okay, so Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, of course, trying to fire up his.
He's
leftist.
so helpful.
This guy, and it would be him trying to talk tough would be comedic, given his him.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really irresponsible. Here's part of what he had to say as he was mouthing off.
What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people.
I could be wrong, but I don't feel like St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer would handle a similar situation the way that he did.
No.
She might, I don't know. I can't say exactly what she would do, but I don't think we would see her engaging in the type of rhetoric we've seen out of Jacob Frey.
Yeah, that's one of the upgrades from Tashar Jones.
Yes.
The voters made. I think you're absolutely right about that. Governor Tim Walz, I think, giving mixed signals.
Very much so.
Very mixed signals. Here's part of what he had to say.
We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough.
And he also at one point was saying, everybody please be peaceful when you're protesting. But then he also said, everybody stand with us when they come to your town too. So he was talking out of like three sides of his mouth.
He was. Yeah. And I would just like to note, if given particularly the time of year it is, if we want to just look at what the words about everybody please protest peacefully, aren't those words that President Trump said on the ellipse on January 6th? Peacefully. And I mean, those words are what he said, but that wasn't enough.
Right.
So I'm just saying, if we're going to apply standards.
Well, but you're asking that they be applied the same to both sides.
Well, yes, I am.
We don't do that anymore.
Well, we should.
That's a different thing. We
Uh-huh.
just don't.
Okay,
anymore.
just gonna say.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, so closer to home here, the illegal alien who killed a St. Louis police officer is going to be sentenced today.
Okay.
Yeah, KMOV's Morgan Harris has the details.
Back in October, Ramon Chavez Rodriguez pleaded guilty to a DWI that resulted in the death of a police officer. In 2024, that officer was responding to a traffic accident when Chavez Rodriguez crashed into him on I-70 in North St. Louis. 44-year-old Officer David Lee, an 18-year veteran of SLMPD, was killed in the crash. It turns out Chavez Rodriguez was out on bond for a domestic assault case when he hit and killed Officer Lee.
And Rodriguez had also had a lengthy rap sheet as well, a violent one. And he was, the Biden administration rather, was alerted that, hey, we have an illegal alien here who's in and out of the criminal justice system. They chose not to deport him. And then Officer Lee was killed. That sentencing is scheduled for 1 p.m. today.
Okay.
He's doing some serious time.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And then depending on who the administration is, when he finishes his long time, then he's likely deported after that.
Yep.
Okay. Now, in Minnesota, it's not just the violence that's going on here as well. The fraud, it's amazing. The fraud is almost now swallowed up in the headlines by this other stuff here.
We can't get away from Minnesota.
No, we can't. Republicans, of course, sounding the alarm over the fraud schemes in Democratic-led states, both the ones we know about and the ones that are alleged at this point. Yeah, we're talking about states like California in addition to Minnesota. Illinois has been brought up in that as well. Representative Congressman Brandon Gill was on the evening edit with Elizabeth McDonald on Fox, saying in Minnesota in particular, there are two main problems connected with that fraud.
Mass migration from third world countries, where you have people coming in, and then once they get here, they're being led to this massive welfare state that has no checks on it, and they're basically being told, you can get what you want from the government, you can defraud it, Democrats are going to close our eyes, we're going to look the other way. Investigators are now reporting that in Minnesota alone, the fraud schemes may have now gone past $9 billion. With a B, in one state alone.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money that just was basically burned.
Right. Yeah.
And that's taxpayer money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's our money. So remember, when like our end of the year tax forms are all in our mailboxes here, remember those line items when you see how much money you're going to end up paying to the federal government, or you did? Some of that went to this.
Yep, it's true.
Don't you just love it?
No, I don't.
Well, because the craziest thing, too, is not just the ridiculous amount of money that was allowed to be defrauded, but the fact that this is just one specific example in one specific state. How much more and what other areas are we going to find? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is. It is. I mean, I guess hopefully we can continue to peel back the layers and get to the bottom of it.
Well, but you know what's interesting is we're in these hearings in the House yesterday that Comer was overseeing. What some of the locals there are saying is like, we've known about this.
Yes.
We've been trying to tell you about this. Nick Shirley didn't break the story.
No.
He just brought it to a national audience. We've known about this for years. And what we're finding now is that the establishment government in Minnesota was basically saying, stop questioning this. We got our thing.
There needs to be arrests if possible made over this. I mean, can the people that were overseeing this, and even if it's just a negligence of duty type thing, where you were just allowing it because you did not do your due diligence, what can come of this?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a criminal negligence statute that would apply here, to be honest, but certainly it needs to be investigated. I suspect, I could be wrong, but I suspect some of the people in the system, some of the government officials overseeing it had to have actual knowledge, not just be looking the other way and like, well, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I fully agree with investigating it both criminally and civilly, however it needs to be. I don't know from a criminal perspective what the charges could be, but that's not saying there couldn't be any.
Yeah, I mean, if they find that somebody knew and actively covered up or participated, that's one thing.
Right.
If they just sucked at their job, well,
that's borderline.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, were there people taking kickbacks? Were they getting political donations? That all needs to be looked at very, very closely.
Right. Exactly. All right, looks like the Kansas City Royals are going to be staying in the Show Me State even if they don't want to.
What? Are we holding them hostage?
No, they burned their bridges.
Uh-huh.
So here's what's going on. Multiple reports out of Kansas, the state. They say state officials there have told the team they're no longer interested in making them a deal to lure them out of Missouri.
Did they have a spat?
I think they just kind of wore out their welcome here. One state official says that the Royals contacted them in Kansas after the December 31st deadline that Kansas had given them, saying, here's our offer. Tell us you want to start the process by December 31st. Of course, Missouri's legislature and governor offers them a corporate welfare deal for a new stadium on the Missouri side. The Kansas official now says, well, they contacted us after December 31st, and we told them we've moved on.
Okay.
And also in North Kansas City, that was trying to make a deal to have them build the stadium there, which the corporate welfare thing would have applied to. They've now told local media in Kansas City, we're not interested anymore. So the Kansas City Royals, at least for the foreseeable future, are going to stay at Kauffman Stadium, which, by the way, is a nice stadium.
It is a nice stadium.
It's a nice stadium. And the deal that was offered them was to build a new stadium, and nobody wants to build them a stadium now. So it looks like they're going to end up getting nothing.
Ooh. You snooze, you lose.
All right, the Blues got beat like a tourist on the L train last night.
Oh, no.
Final score in Chicago was Blues 3, Blackhawks 7. Yikes.
Well, there you go again, listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
It's not pleasant to hear it, but Missouri is falling behind in its spending of state tax dollars, education, and health care. But there are ways to get Missouri moving forward again and produce a better life for all of us. That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together a 2026 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can move to a brighter future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to healthcare and budget reform. Let's allow students to attend the school of their choice. Let's adopt new proven methods to help the many school kids who can barely read. Let's limit state spending growth for Missouri's long-term financial stability. And let's invest in future needs with more nuclear energy. Why not common sense reforms to make things better for all Missourians? Check out our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Brain fog, low energy, and burnout aren't always just stress. Hormones, B vitamin pathways, and your mitochondria play a huge role. I'm Dr. Brian Deloney. Join me this week to learn what's really draining your energy.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff and not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives up. Lights stay on, heat stays on, your family stays safe, so your house stays warm.
And your ice cream stays frozen.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, Missouri lawmakers reported back to work on Wednesday. We were there.
We saw it.
Of course, we were there. By the way, we're going to get to that in just a moment. Real quick with an update, because we got some folks talking about this on the social media chat. The ACA, the Obamacare subsidies. Now, those are coming up for a vote today in the House. So
correct.
Okay, so they have not, the subsidies have not been brought back and passed and approved, but they're a step closer to that.
Yes.
But don't panic just yet.
Correct. No, yesterday there was a maneuvering going on that got that issue to be voted on today.
Right.
So
yeah, so some Republicans did vote to move it
9
forward.
of them did.
Yeah, so which is very concerning.
Yes.
So that vote happens today. We'll see whether the House approves a plan to bring back some of the Obamacare subsidies. Then you run into the Senate, where I think it's far less likely.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But I tell you something, if the Republicans in the House of Representatives allow the Obamacare subsidies to come through, then it's going to be harder for them to get me all fired up about, well, we have to win the midterms.
I agree. The only thing I'm going to point out is that the people that are voting for it on the Republican side are all in like the blue states. So they're like Lawler in New York, Fitzpatrick in Pennsylvania. They're the people that are in those blue districts.
Yeah.
So I'm not excusing their vote. I'm just saying that's why that. Keep in mind, it's not our representatives that are doing it. It's not the the Freedom Caucus or the staunch conservatives.
Definitely not like Bob Onder, Mark
Correct.
Alford, or anybody
Correct.
like that. Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But it's annoying.
Yeah, I mean,
troubling.
You were given granted that's a majority that's been whittled down over the last year, and it's going to be whittled down even more. But so Republicans decide who you stand for.
Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly.
So we'll see how that goes. All right. So I'm sitting at home yesterday, and I get a text from Denny Hoskins, the Secretary of State, who was with us, which, by the way, Denny always wears that big gaudy red sport jacket.
That's what I'm used to seeing him in is the red jacket.
When I set up the interview for him to come on, he goes, I'm going to be in my workhouse stuff, just so you know. I'm like, that's fine. Nobody's going to be there. I mean, it's fine.
It was early.
It was early. I mean, the Capitol building, they let us in early to do the show. And so then he comes in and he's got his sweatpants on and everything like a normal human being. And I don't know if you could tell this on camera, Jerome. He walks in and I'm like, he looks like he's ready for a UFC fight.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap. I had no idea Denny Hoskins was in that kind of shape. I had no idea.
He was looking buff.
He really was.
I was like, whoa.
I'm like, damn, Denny. I'm like, really? Okay. So just to point that out. And then we're talking off the air, and I hope I'm not speaking to a term. I'm like, so which workout are you doing? He goes, I'm doing the hard 75.
Yeah.
Now that's no joke.
That's serious commitment.
That thing is not a joke. Yeah. My daughter did that, and she's a gym rat, and she's like, this is rough as
clearly he didn't just start that yesterday or this week either. No, he's clearly been getting fit.
So I just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, so Denny texted me yesterday, and he goes, hey, check this out. And it was a link to a news article, and a representative, a Democrat left-wing representative over in the Jackson County area, in Independence, very, very blue area, has filed legislation to basically allow for the impeachment of Denny.
For getting buff?
He's guilty, if that's the case. No, and when I looked up the article on this, what the guy is complaining about is the fact that Denny Hoskins is not counting all of the signatures on the congressional district referendum. And so he told us, because we asked about that, because the Missouri Independent did kind of I'm not going to call it a full hit piece, but it was framed in a very biased way.
It was.
Yeah. And so the quotes from this representative, last name is Joby, or Job, Jobe, basically that he's interfering with the communist-backed referendum, the petition. And so we actually asked Denny about this on yesterday's show, and this was prior to those articles being filed, or not article, but the legislation being filed. Here's what Denny told us.
With the independent, what they were talking about is the signatures that were gathered before I certified the language for the referendum petition. So those signatures that were gathered before October 14th, according to state law, should not count. And so we've set those aside. We're not counting those. And, unless a judge issues a court order and says, hey, yes, you must count these. But otherwise, we've set those aside, and they should not count toward the referendum.
Now, the legislation to set up the impeachment of Denny Hoskins, it's not going anywhere, but
it's
not. media loves to
Whoa.
And if you want to have some fun, look up the legislator. Just look up his picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not going anywhere. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, impeach him for what? Like,
Right.
he's basically saying, okay, I'm waiting to see what the courts are going to say about this before, as I read the law, I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Not only as I read the law, I asked the Attorney General.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not just making his own legal determination.
He went and got a second opinion from, from the Attorney General in the state. So I saw that. I'm like, oh, there's a lawmaker who wants to make a name for himself.
I guess so. Well, when you're in the super minority, I guess you got to do something.
You got to have, because governing is not what you're doing. You're just looking for ways to justify your existence right there. Okay, so by the way, we have all of those conversations that we had are available separately on the podcast. Jerome was doing a lot of editing yesterday.
He was.
Yes.
You are welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I did thank you for that off air too. So so that's up there. For instance, I just reposted the one with our governor yesterday as well. And variety of state lawmakers, Missouri Right to Life was there. I mean, so we covered a lot of ground on there. I saw and heard a couple of themes.
Okay.
Maybe you saw the same thing. Maybe you saw something in addition to that. And that was cut taxes, cut spending.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. And I saw and heard over and over and over. And those are typical campaign cliches that you get from Republicans every 2 years. In this particular case, I sensed a different sense of urgency in them, to the point where at the very least they were saying, I think we actually have to do it this time.
Yeah.
What was your take, and any patterns or themes that you saw?
No, I saw the same. You definitely saw a different sort of appreciation for, this is the opportunity to do it, and we do need to make this, the governor emphasized it, making bold moves. Reining in regulation was another theme, and also this sense of, I feel like we're all moving in the same direction, rowing in the same direction kind of mentality, as opposed to previous sessions where there's been a lot of infighting amongst the Republicans. They may have different ideas, they may come at it differently, but they seem to all be mostly on the same page.
Yeah, and we had some lawmakers say that, not even just on the air, but more explicitly in some of our conversations.
Yes,
that were off the air, and they basically had said, yeah, we're figuring each other out.
Yeah,
now some of the personalities have changed, so therefore the communication is better in there as well. But what I've been hearing for months, well, about a year now, are Republican lawmakers telling me privately, saying the governor's leading. He's not bullying, but he's leading.
Yeah.
He's listening, and he's getting on board, and we're basically developing on the things they have a consensus that they all agree they want to get done. They're basically prioritizing those things, and then they'll squabble over the other stuff.
That was the first time I'd had an in-depth conversation with him yesterday. And
with the governor.
With the governor. Yeah, I'd met him before, but that was actually the first time I actually got a chance to have a conversation. And I did get that sense that he is dialed in, he's focused. And not only that, but, as he pointed out, he's on the Republican Governors Association. He's kind of working in tandem while we're competing with our neighboring states, like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas. And it seemed to me like he is, I don't know, like he's got the right energy and the right focus to actually lead. And as he said, he wants on the next State of the State to be able to say we're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, and I've been clear that I haven't agreed with him on everything.
Sure.
I didn't agree with him on the stadium deals and all that sort of thing. I agree with him on most things for sure. But what's interesting is around the state, I'm hearing a lot of people say, man, I voted for Eigel or I voted for Ashcroft. Keogh wasn't my guy, but he keeps this up and he's going to win me over. And I think I'm going to get on board. So he's come in and I think governed in a far more conservative way than a lot of people claim that he would.
Yeah.
Now, I've always, and I said, there are three conservatives in that primary.
Well, that's
race
true.
for governor. There were three.
We really couldn't lose in that.
Which version of conservative do you want to get? So I never bought into, he's the liberal while the others are the two conservatives. I thought all three of them were conservative. But some of the anti-Kehoe vote, to their credit, is going, I've waited and I saw and I liked what I saw.
Yeah.
So if he keeps doing this, he's got the ability to build a tremendous amount of not just Republican momentum, but conservative momentum. And we talked to him about this yesterday. And we said, 2025 Republicans discovered you can do it. Because there were some big things that got done and the world did not end. And the left, threw a fit and stomped their feet. And then still things got, better.
Right.
And now you've got Republicans like Scott Fitzpatrick, the state auditor, and you've got others who are saying, listen, the money's going to run out unless you follow through and you start cutting spending. And cutting spending means you limit the scope and the reach of government.
Right.
It means you get government out of things that should not be in.
Absolutely. And that was the theme from all of the people we talked with yesterday, that's what they want to see happen. Now, are they going to follow through? Well, I sure hope so.
We'll see.
But they seem intent on doing so.
Right. So we'll have this conversation. Are they going to follow through around their spring break? And then we'll have it again in about 5 months.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. Proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Precisely. Yep.
Well, you know what? We've all seen that unfortunate video of the ICE officer-involved shooting in Minnesota, and we've heard from the politicians. But at 6:35, we're going to get a reaction from a law enforcement perspective. Former Police Chief Tim Fitch has a viewpoint to consider.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A cross between Socrates and Dirty Harry.
On NewsTalk-STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
It's more than a rebellion. When your teen is slipping into drugs or alcohol, when social media and pornography consume their time and their mind, when depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work, real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Hope you had enough time to freshen up your coffee, because now we're back with Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
Okay, we're going to see whether Minneapolis burns over this one too.
My take on yesterday was it was exhausting. We first of all we spent the morning at the Capitol, which was like big, and then drove home, and then this happens, and all day. Of course, this is like, the front and center coverage. And it was exhausting just to watch all the back and forth and the politicization of it.
Yeah. So everybody has seen the same video, but there are two wildly different viewpoints, not about what should have happened, but of what did happen. Even though we're all looking, and I've seen 3 different angles, 3 different cell phone videos of it.
Yep.
So how can that be? Well, it's because people have wildly different political views on this.
Yeah.
So we're now joined by former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch. So Tim, I'm going to take I want to take the politics out of this right here. I'm sure you've seen the video like the rest of us have. You've seen, the images of the SUV after that. Christy Nome, we just played that soundbite from her saying the officer used his training. This was within the protocol. A vehicle is a deadly weapon. When you see that video from a law enforcement perspective and then the chief's perspective, where you've got to review these things when, God forbid, they happen with the officers under your command, what did you see from the initial set of evidence in that video?
Well, good morning, first of all, everyone. Thanks for asking me to be with you this morning. I will tell you that I have dealt with these situations very similar, and you really have to wait till you gather all the facts. And I mean facts, not the politics piece of it, but the facts of it, and then make some, educated decisions. And then there's always an opportunity to say, what can we do differently next time? Always that opportunity. Nothing wrong with that. But really what we're talking about here is a very highly politicized situation going on in the Minneapolis area right now. Do you realize just last week, right across the river in East St. Louis, an Illinois State Police trooper shot and killed a woman in a car for the exact same situation where she drove at him? Do you all even know about that?
Yeah, I did know about that when I saw that. Yeah.
Nope, missed that one.
Then what happened in Minneapolis yesterday?
Right.
So that really gets to the heart of what we're dealing with here. If this wasn't ICE, you probably never would have heard anything about it. That's what really the first issue is. So basically what happens is, in 1989, the Supreme Court in Graham versus Connor basically talked about police use of force. It's got to be an objective reasonableness. That's the standard. So that means it's evaluated from the reasonable officer's perspective on the scene, not with hindsight. So you have to consider a lot of things, severity of the crime and threat pose and all those different resistance. But remember, this started for one reason. We wouldn't be talking about this now if she had just complied. And that is really at the heart of all of these situations. So then if she had complied, we wouldn't be talking about it. Okay, she didn't. So then what happens? If she hadn't driven towards him, he probably would have never pulled his firearm and never discharged his weapon. So a lot of these things, these are highly preventable, and in this case, by the woman driving the SUV.
Tim, what sorts of evidence are the people that are reviewing this going to look at? Obviously, the video is key evidence. I mean, I'm sure they're going to take statements from the officers, from witnesses. What will be reviewed in the process of examining this from a legal standpoint?
All of it will be reviewed, and it'll all be reviewed by multiple entities. So you have ICE, you have the federal government like the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then you got to go look at the state situation. So if the state, like the district attorney, who is pretty vocally anti-police, if the district attorney decides to charge that ICE agent with a state crime, that brings a whole new, I haven't heard any discussion about that yet. I think that's highly possible that they will do that and try to have a trial right there in Minneapolis with a jury of the ICE agent's peers and try to charge him and get him through the criminal justice system on a state charge in Minneapolis. However, if he was acting reasonably in the line of duty with his training, that he has some supremacy issues that he can use in his defense. He's a federal agent working under federal law, working under federal rules. So it's highly unlikely that they would be successful, but don't be surprised if they don't do it anyway or try to do it anyway.
Tim, when you've been involved in these situations and you've had to review these and you've had to make decisions on this as a leader in law enforcement, tell me about what the officer's going through. I mean, it's a tragedy this woman was killed, and it's very possible that she panicked and she wasn't trying to kill anybody, but the fact of the matter is she was driving the vehicle right at the police officer. So as Susie and I mentioned a little bit earlier before we chatted with you, that we don't know what her intent was, but the actions are pretty clear as to what what happened there. But what about the law enforcement officer? Because the activist and the anti-law enforcement folks, basically they're trying to make out law enforcement as hunters. We're going to go out and we're looking for people to kill. I mean, and essentially Jacob Fry said just that. But when a law enforcement officer has to do this and they're put in that position, what is that person going through right now?
Well, I will tell you, I've been in two of those situations in my law enforcement career where I had to discharge my firearm at people, and I will tell you that it's a constant worry. Okay, who's going to do what? Who's going to do this? Okay, I did this interview with Internal Affairs, so they're going to look at this officer. Did he violate any rules of his agency? And then the federal government will look at, did he violate any federal law? And then he's got that extra layer of, now you've got state. You've got the state looking at it as well. So all of this is going to take a long time. And my guess is the officer will be put on administrative leave while all this is being investigated until this is all resolved. This could go on for months and months and months. And, of course, the whole time it's hanging over your head, what's next, what's next? Are they going to try to arrest me in Minnesota? Those type of things. That's all going through his mind right now.
I'm sure. Tim, one of the things that comes up in situations like this, and I think it kind of speaks to the fact that, regular folks aren't trained and don't understand law enforcement training. But I have seen multiple people, including people that I feel should know better, say, well, why did he have to shoot more than once? Now, if I counted correctly, there was either 2 or 3 shots. It wasn't, a barrage of them. But even so, I know from having seen this happen in previous situations, there's this sort of civilian impulse to say, oh, why can't you just shoot the leg? Why can't you shoot the tire? Why did you have to shoot more than once? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's very common for people that aren't in that business. If you had the choice of trying to shoot a tire or had the choice of, it's not going to stop the threat. You're trained to stop the threat. And he fired until he felt like there was no reason to fire anymore. Like, for example, she struck him and then went past him at that point. He didn't try to shoot her in the back of the head or, from the back of the vehicle. None of that happened. So he stopped firing as soon as he felt like the threat was over for him. So that's what it's about. It's about the threat and stopping the threat and how quickly this can be over. And it's kind of like I would get calls from families after police shootings would happen. And a lot of times this is how the conversation went. Okay, I get it. The officer was probably legally justified. My loved one did whatever caused your officer to do this, but did he have to? The underlying question from family and friends is, did they really have to do this? And I will tell you, those officers are making a split-second decision. And at that moment, they had to make that decision. They felt like it was to protect themselves and others. So they had to make that decision. So that is very hard for people to understand that are directly involved in these situations.
Yeah, and law enforcement, in this case, federal law enforcement, they know they're walking into a tinderbox anyway, so they're on guard. They know there are people who want to or are willing to attack them, and things can become volatile at any point in this particular situation, which is what we see in urban communities. It can happen anywhere in our region as well. How has that mindset changed over the years? I saw a report this morning that said police-involved violence has actually gone way down in 2025. So despite what we're seeing in the news headlines, there have been fewer instances of police-involved violence in this country, but that doesn't change the fact that there's always the potential for somebody to go after a cop.
Yeah, well, anytime that officer steps out of a safety zone like a police station and goes out and engages in enforcement action, which is what we're asking them to do, they're at risk. They're at risk in the public. It's going to be confrontational at times. It really just depends on, you have people like the mayor in Minneapolis, the governor of Minnesota, who did their best to inflame that crowd yesterday and make this about ICE, get out of our city, we don't want you here. All of that ramps up people. And they're like, well, if my mayor's saying, well, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out and protest. I'm going to go out and confront them. I'm going to go out and block the road. All of that encourages lawlessness.
What about the local police? I mean, I feel like the Minneapolis police have probably, they've probably been stuck between a rock and a hard spot for several years now, continuing on after the George Floyd situation. But it sounds to me as though, from a local perspective, they're basically, well, for lack of a better word, kind of handcuffed in terms of how they and whether to what extent they can cooperate with federal law enforcement.
Well, and keep in mind, Brian O'Hara, who I know is the police chief in Minneapolis, in October I went to a seminar in Denver where he spoke to the crowd about kind of what's going on in the whole Minneapolis area and the law enforcement area. He is stuck. So basically he reports to the mayor of Minneapolis. You've seen the attitude of the mayor of Minneapolis. So you talk about walking on eggshells. But what I will tell you is they've been trying to fire him and get rid of him for some time because they feel like he's been too cooperative with the federal authorities. One of his officers actually shook hands with an ICE agent that he knew at the scene of some incident that had happened, and this has been back in the fall. And they were trying to figure out how to fire the police chief because his officer shook hands with an ICE agent. So that's the kind of eggshells that he's walking on. I mean, it's really rather amazing the job that they're able to do. But I will tell you that for the most part, there's not a lot of police intervention and enforcement action by the Minneapolis police because they're really concerned and about doing it.
We spoke with Governor Kehoe yesterday about law enforcement and public safety, among a bunch of other things, Tim. And part of what he said is there has to be a focus on recruitment and retention. Everything you were just talking about, I mean, Minneapolis and obviously other parts of the country, it's got to be a hard sell to convince somebody to go into law enforcement at this point. What does this say, about the future of law enforcement, and what does that in turn then say about our safeties of our communities?
Well, I would say it's very nuanced. For example, I was in Florida over the Christmas holidays. They're doing quite well recruiting law enforcement in Florida because the elected officials, the community support law enforcement. People don't mind signing up to be a police officer in that kind of environment, but who's going to sign up to be a police officer in a place like Minneapolis or Portland? Those kind of places that absolutely have a disdain, many people, for law enforcement. You're going to get the people that, unfortunately, they're still going to, well, let me say fortunately, there's going to be some good people that will do it anyway, but those are far and few between. You're going to get the people that say, well, I need a steady job. It's got benefits. It's got longevity for me and my family. I'm going to go there and do the least that I can. That's who they're recruiting in places like Minneapolis and Portland in many cases. We're fortunate here in Missouri where we have a governor like Mike Kehoe and a General Assembly who's highly supportive of law enforcement. I think for us, you're starting to see a bit of a turnaround as far as police recruiting in the St. Louis area. We're doing better at it, and it really is about the politics.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I wanted to start the conversation getting the politics out of it, but we just can't avoid it. I think you're right, Tim. All right, Tim Fitch, former police chief of St. Louis County. Thanks so much for the insight, Tim. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks, Tim. The illegal alien who killed a St. Louis police officer, speaking of police, he has another day in court. He's going to find out his fate later on today, and we'll have the update on that coming up in the news dump.
Let me tell you about something that's so basic that we almost forget it sometimes. How about this? Water. And you think, oh, well, water is water. Water's good. I need more water. You definitely need more water, most likely, but not all water is the same. Matter of fact, my friends over at Nutrition Stop now stay with me here. They have an unusual sort of education event happening this weekend. It's going to happen Saturday the 10th. The 10th is Saturday, right? Yeah. And that's going to be learning about the importance of pure water. There's stuff in your water sometimes that's not good for you. Water's good for you, obviously. So check them out. Go to nutritionstop.com. Mike Ferguson, obviously, here for Nutrition Stop. It's called The Essence of Water, and they're going to have water expert Susan from Susan's Natural Spring Water, and this is brought to you by Nutrition Stop. It's free. You don't have to RSVP. You can just kind of show up there. But look at nutritionstop.com or find them on social media. They're on Mexico Road, just off of Cave Springs Road. So they're really easy to find. This is where I get my nutritional supplements and a lot of my groceries as well. But learn more about the importance of the difference between pure water and, frankly, a lot of the stuff that we're drinking right now. It's going to be interesting stuff. Go to Nutrition Stop social media to learn more and check them out Saturday at 11:30.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams. If you've been targeted or suspect price gouging, report it to our office at 800-392-8222 or online at ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right. Are we going to see another round of leftist protest violence after the ICE officer-involved shooting in Minneapolis?
I keep sighing a lot today.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the answer to that is yes.
That's what I have a feeling we're going to find out either today or within 24 hours. Honestly, if it weren't so cold in Minneapolis right now, I wonder if the city wouldn't have burned down by now.
Well, the native Minnesotans, that doesn't faze them at all.
Right.
So, but there are a lot of out-of-state protesters.
Well,
so
including the woman who got killed,
exactly.
apparently.
So,
I don't know if she lived there. I know she was from Kansas City, but I don't know.
There was confusing information because her mother apparently said she'd moved there from Colorado.
Yeah.
And then the car she was in had Missouri plates, and she has some history in Kansas City. Wherever she's from, it's clear that they had not been there for long. So whether they went there specifically to participate in this or had just recently moved is a little unclear.
Yeah. Also, the illegal alien, as Susie was saying a second ago, who killed a St. Louis police officer, learns his fate today. And the blue, you know what? I'm not even going to do a tease on the blue story. I'll just tell you what happened here in a few minutes. All right, 6:52. Let's go ahead and do another news dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Okay, all eyes are on Minneapolis right now. Federal officials responding to the situation where a woman was shot and killed by an ICE officer after she drove her vehicle at that police officer. Okay. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem asked about the justification for using deadly force.
It's clearly established law that a vehicle driven by a person and used to harm someone is a deadly weapon. Deadly force is perfectly lawful when a threat is faced by a weapon. So I do believe that this officer used his training in this situation.
And Mayor Jacob Fry trying to be the tough guy and to be really candid, inflaming the situation.
Very much so.
Yeah, here's part of what he said.
What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets, and in this case, quite literally killing people.
That's so beyond irresponsible. It's just evil.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come to the conclusion that you don't think the officer should have fired the weapon after seeing all the evidence, okay, then have that debate. But to use that sort of inflammatory language, it's like Jacob Fry wants his city to burn down again in order to feel ideologically pure by the fringe left.
It does seem like that. Both him and Tim Walz, I think, I get that read off of, and it's like no.
Yeah, Tim
it's
Walz,
not about you, and it's not about feeling better about things.
Yeah, Tim Walz basically talked out of both sides of his mouth. On one hand, he's saying, please protest peacefully. And then he's saying, we need everybody around the country to stand up and stand with us when ICE comes to your town. So fight them, but I want to be able to claim that I use the words peacefully.
Well, he was also very confusing with his warning about possibly activating the Minnesota National Guard, because it was like, for what purpose? Because it kind of seemed like he was saying basically to push back on the feds rather than to keep the peace.
Yeah, so like he was taking a page out of the script of, what was it, Lone Survivor, that show with Kiefer Sutherland back. Because at one point, the National Guard in one of those states went, we reject your orders. We were, and that's not how that works.
No, it's not.
All right. The illegal alien who killed a St. Louis police officer is going to be sentenced today. KMOV's Morgan Harris has the details.
Back in October, Ramon Chavez Rodriguez pleaded guilty to a DWI that resulted in the death of a police officer. In 2024, that officer was responding to a traffic accident when Chavez Rodriguez crashed into him on I-70 in North St. Louis. 44-year-old Officer David Lee, an 18-year veteran of SLMPD, was killed in the crash. It turns out Chavez Rodriguez was out on bond for a domestic assault case when he hit and killed Officer Lee.
Chavez Rodriguez has a very long rap sheet. That sentencing is scheduled for 1 p.m. I don't know what the sentence is going to be, obviously, but he's doing some time. He's doing some serious time.
Yeah. Assumption.
Yeah, we'll have that update for you, obviously, tomorrow as well. Okay, United States has taken 2 more oil tankers as it expands control over Venezuela and that oil industry and in and out of it.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the first tanker was seized in the North Atlantic after pursuing it for several weeks.
This was a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel that has transported sanctioned oil, and the United States of America, under this president, is not going to tolerate that.
She says the other tanker was a stateless vessel in the Caribbean and was conducting illicit activities. As for who's running Venezuela right now, Leavitt says the Trump administration has maximum leverage over that country. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Yeah, you mentioned this when the breaking news was happening on the program yesterday, and so now we're piecing together more information about it.
We're going to have more information on that from Bill Cruz later on.
We will, from RedState.com. All right, let's see here. Kansas City Royals may have run out of luck.
Oops.
They they got an offer of corporate welfare from the state of Missouri to build a new stadium. Then they tried to turn around and use that to leverage to get a better deal out of the state of Kansas, and now we're finding out Kansas said, no thanks, we're done. We're moving on.
Not going to be in Kansas anymore.
Not going to be in Kansas. And so the Royals, it looks like for the time being, they're going to be at Kauffman Stadium, which is a nice stadium.
It is.
So they may have really screwed themselves, and
Maybe.
I'm here for it. I love it. Okay, Blues got beat pretty bad last night in Chicago. Final score, Blues 3, Blackhawks 7.
Ouch.
Next up for the Blues is another road game on Friday. They're going to be in Utah taking on the Mammoth.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Allman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators. They're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
News, analysis, opinion.
The United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors.
We're taking the fight to the enemy, and we can already tell it's working.
Another stabbing by an illegal migrant.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The fatal shooting of a motorist by an ICE agent in Minneapolis has protesters on the streets of the city. The motorist was shot as agents struggled to enforce federal immigration law amid day-long efforts by agitating demonstrators to thwart their efforts.
Anger in Minneapolis after an ICE officer shot and killed a driver. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem alleged the woman was trying to run over agents.
She had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands.
To Minnesotans, I say this: I feel your anger. I'm angry.
But Governor Tim Walz says
they want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully, as you always do.
That report from correspondent Ben Thomas. Noem says the agent who fired the shot yesterday was previously attacked by an anti-ICE protester who hit him with a vehicle and then dragged him for some distance 7 months ago. The House has voted to move ahead on a health care bill over the objections of the Republican leadership.
9 GOP lawmakers joined Democrats to win a test vote on a bill that would extend health insurance subsidies that expired last month. The tally of 221 to 205 means that the House will formally vote on a 3-year extension. All of this came about because enough Republicans joined with Democrats in signing a so-called discharge petition to force the vote, overpowering House Speaker Mike Johnson. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A manhunt is underway for the gunman who killed 2 people outside a Mormon church in Salt Lake City yesterday. They were gunned down in the parking lot as a funeral was taking place inside the building. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 194. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction, one day Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters, discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
Sheepdog, in theaters January 16th.
I just want to wake up in the morning and feel something.
U.S. Army veteran Calvin Cole confronts his past and through the tough love and support of his community finds the courage to rebuild.
Sometimes we gotta fall apart to find ourselves all over again.
Raw, real, and powerful, critics hail Sheepdog as one of the best films of the year, and the Charlie Kirk Show declares it a must-see film. See Sheepdog in theaters Friday, January 16th. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. In the first alert for Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Mike Ferguson.
What is that private pile? Sir, jelly donut, sir. A jelly donut?
Susie Moore.
Mama don't like tattletales.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, law enforcement in the headlines around the country again, as we've been talking about throughout the morning right here. Now, here in the Metro, another law enforcement group, this time we're talking about the union representing a lot of the officers, announces their support in the race for St. Charles County Executive. Yeah, so Jason Law joins us right now. And Jason, obviously any endorsement matters in politics in some way. You got the endorsement now of the union that represents not just law enforcement, I think there's some firefighters in this one as well. What was it that's out there? And then we can talk about the significance of that, because you've got obviously law enforcement in the picture as well, and everything that's going on with that. But then also I saw on social media some people who were like, hey, wait a minute, why are Republicans working with unions and stuff? And it's a little bit different in the public safety sector. But what was the announcement that you had this week?
Yeah, we were able to obtain the endorsement of the fire unions. And there are brothers in red. I'm a lieutenant colonel with the St. Louis County Police Department. And having all first responders now behind me during this journey is just humbling. And the reason why they're all, coalescing behind me is because what you were talking about on your last segment. When you saw that mayor from Minneapolis just go out there and attack that situation before any investigation was even completed, shows you why so many people are getting behind candidates like myself who are just want a safe community for their families.
Jason, what do you, obviously that's a big endorsement to get and something that you're happy to have. What do you want voters in the St. Charles area to know in terms of, the work that you would look to do with first responders if you are elected St. Charles County Executive?
Well, number one, I would not treat them like that Minneapolis mayor. That's disgusting. You're just demonizing a whole group of people because of one action. And I haven't seen that video yet, but I did hear the mayor. And there is a court, there's a system in place to handle these types of things. And my number one mindset was when I heard that mayor, he wanted to take and change the narrative of the entire state from fraud and abuse straight to let's blame the police again. And, it's really aggravating. And I think that's why if you look at law enforcement over the last decade since Michael Brown, you'll see that crime has risen because police are not supported. And that's why candidates like myself and Tim Whitney in Jefferson County are starting to rise to the top.
Jason, we talked to Governor Kehoe yesterday, and we asked about, law enforcement and public safety. And we talked to Tim Fitch about this just a little bit ago. And one of the things that the governor identified from a statewide public safety aspect is recruitment and retention. So obviously, we are working with, the law enforcement agencies and associations and things like that. What are they saying on the ground when it comes to keeping officers where are they at? Now, it's going to be obviously a very different situation in St. Charles County or Western St. Louis County than it's going to be in the city or something like that. But there have got to be some common elements throughout all of law enforcement and public safety.
We struggle every day to hire new officers, and it's because the politicians, as Tim Fitch, who was my chief and promoted me to sergeant in 2010. Thanks, Tim Fitch. But it's a struggle, and we spend a lot of money trying to recruit and retain. And Governor Kehoe has done a great job in helping us, and I helped pass the retention bill with Governor Kehoe last year in the legislation.
Obviously, public safety and first responders, law enforcement are going to be key issues for the executive position. But obviously, there's other roles that go along with it too. What other key items do you think you intend to focus on if you are elected to the position?
As a part-time mayor in Lake St. Louis, I ran on three things. It was cutting crime, cutting taxes, and cutting bureaucracy. And in my 4-year stint as the part-time mayor, we cut taxes by 46% by paying off debt early and becoming a debt-free city. We cut bureaucracy, which spurred $500 million in private investment, and we cut crime by 46%, becoming the 10th safest city in the state of Missouri. So I plan to bring all those aspects to the entire county, and cutting taxes and cutting crime is what I'm really running on.
Now, if you're obviously, you've got other issues, like Susie said, other than, law enforcement, public safety. What do you make of the situation with the collector's office in St. Charles County? I mean, obviously the system's had some issues, and, there's a lot of confusion over, when the bills are due and penalties and things like that. Can you assess what's happened and what St. Charles County leadership should be doing? Because it seems like this is spilling out beyond the collector's office.
Well, I think Steve Ellman, who's the current county executive, has been mute on this situation. He should be leading the county. That is a debacle of what's going on. Seniors don't know what to do. They're, should I pay my bill? I've paid my bill and it's not being shown as paid. It's terrible. They should extend the deadlines. They should step back and help these seniors. I mean, throwing seniors under the bus is just terrible. Taxes in general in St. Charles County are too high. We need to get rid of some of these taxes, and Michelle McBride needs to go.
St. Charles has had the benefit and been able to brag, rightly so, of being a growing county, and I think we would agree that we want that to continue. What sorts of things are you going to implement to help foster that growth in the county?
Well, we need responsible growth, and we need a 10-year master plan to show where growth should be and really communicate that to the public, because growing's great, but you need to grow smart as well and with common sense. And, we have too many apartments in St. Charles County. I was the first mayor in 2021 to do a moratorium on apartment buildings. And I want to see that throughout St. Charles County until we see our resources, our schools, our police, our fire all catch up to the population growth. I want to see businesses expand. I want to see businesses come to St. Charles County and come to the region as a whole.
Hey, Jason, what is talk about the role of government in that? I mean, if there's a demand in the market for, apartments or rental housing, what's the reason that government say, no, you're not allowed to build that here, even if there's a demand for it there?
The demand, we don't know if the demand's completely there. There was lower interest rates, so they, were investing and they just threw them up everywhere. We need to make sure that those saturate into the market and make sure that we're growing in the right way. I do believe government needs to stay out of the way of the business sector. I'm a free market Republican, but also we have to use common sense.
So when we're talking about that, just yesterday, the president actually announced that they're going to kind of try to crack down on like corporate investment in housing.
We're going to have something on that tomorrow too. Yeah.
I just saw Mike's eyes light up.
I have thoughts on this. Yes.
From a municipality's standpoint, from a county standpoint, how do you envision working with both the state and the federal government in terms of, making sure that the growth that we have is the kind of growth that we want?
Now, the county executive, it's a powerful position, but it's not powerful enough to stop corporations from buying houses in St. Charles County. The free market is the free market. Do I think that corporations are hurting the housing market? I do. I'm a mortgage guy on the side back in the day, and that industry is really struggling because corporations and higher interest rates are killing that market, and it's making the affordability really tough. And they're driving the housing market up, the price is up, and people can't afford homes anymore. And it's a tough situation. I don't know if it's right or wrong what President Trump's doing, but it's something to try to get that housing market moving.
Okay, you mentioned cutting taxes in Lake St. Louis, and you like to bring that obviously to the countywide level as well. What are some of the taxes? What are the spending that needs to be looked at? I mean, so basically, what are some areas that maybe county government could back off of or could stop taxing people as much on?
Well, I think personal property tax, renting your vehicle that you bought, renting everything that you've already bought once and paid taxes on is the most disgusting tax you can even think of. And that's something that I'm going to do my best to eliminate in my first 4 years. Personal property tax is probably something that's the most important in people's minds because they just think it's unfair, and it is unfair.
Jason, circling back to the public safety issue, what sorts of things do you think that St. Charles County can do to not only support first responders and law enforcement, but to help foster that retention and recruitment that is so key to helping keep a lid on crime?
Well, what I think, first of all, you need somebody that has their backs. There's no politician in this entire region that really supports police, fire, paramedics, and dispatchers. And that's what I'm going to do. And when you have those voices, that sounding board of help and support, you're going to see retention, thrive. And, I think we need that throughout the entire region. It's kind of tough for these first responders. I mean, they dealt with Michael Brown, that incident in 2014, and so many other incidents since then. And they haven't had somebody to support them. And I think as long as you're supporting your first responders, letting them know you care, you're going to see that retention helps. It goes in a good direction.
Okay, just got a minute or so left with Jason Law running for St. Charles County Executive. Just had a question come in on one of our social media chat boxes, Jason, asking your position on the data center issues. Obviously, multiple areas of the metro area are being looked at for building these data centers. A lot of opposition to them, but the reality is in the digital world, they got to be somewhere. How should the county approach, even if there's not one eminently in your backyard right now, at some point, somebody's going to want to build one of these near your community. So what's your take on how that should be handled?
Mike, I think you're exactly right. I think when I'm elected as St. Charles County Executive, I'll work with the other 5 major county executives in the region, and we'll put out a 10-year master plan. And we'll make sure that we educate the public. We'll put them in places that they wouldn't bother anybody. And we'll make sure those jobs come to our region. We need to work as a team in that area, not just as a single county. And we need to make sure when they do come in that they're safe.
Okay, Jason Law running for a St. Charles County Executive. I think we've already tagged you on the social media, yes. But what's the website? People want to get in touch or learn more about your campaign, or maybe ask you something that I didn't think to ask you.
Well, for stcharlescounty.com, I just want you to know that I support law enforcement and all first responders, and I'm extremely proud to get the fighters behind me. And I think you're going to see a thriving region when I take office in 2027. Okay,
I'm also just going to say, after almost 30 years in media, that you talked about your brothers in red, but there's a rivalry there when the police versus firefighters softball game happens. It's a little more intense, admit it.
It is, and you look at guns and hoses, but I can tell you when they were walking down West Florissant with me during the riots in 2014, they were right behind me.
Yep. Got it. All right. We'll talk to you again soon, Jason. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Jason. All right, the video seen all over the country leads to the question, are we about to see another string of leftist violence? We'll get into that at 7:20.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart.
All right, outdoorsmen and outdoors women, you know what hunting seasons are coming up. There's a variety of them. And I keep telling you, go visit my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors. Mike Ferguson here for Whistle Pig Outdoors. WhistlePigOutdoors.com. That's the website to start. And I'm telling you, run up to Troy. This store is so cool. Jason and Cole, father and son, own the business. And there is a reason that outdoorsmen, hunters, they come to Whistle Pig from, at one point, I think they found over 100 miles. Because these guys not just are passionate about this, they live the lifestyle, man. They're hunters. They're campers. They do it all. They field test the products that they have. But here's the thing. It's their expertise. They know, first of all, this region, but they also know the top brands, whether you are bow hunting, whether you need top ammunition, whether you need waders, whether you need, the best decoys for your waterfowl, whatever it is. Not only do they have it, but they have the top quality, so you're not replacing it every year or every other year. And you also know that they know the product in and out, especially if you are shooting bows. If you're doing crossbow, you're doing traditional bow, they've got a tech on site who can keep your bow the highest performing, so you've got the best harvest in the season. But check them out, WhistlePigOutdoors.com. But when you're in Troy and that whole little Main Street drag, man, it's just a fun place up there. Check them out in person. I'm telling you, this is a fun shop just to hang around. So go check them out. Tell them Mike was bragging about them on the radio. In the meantime, go check out WhistlePigOutdoors.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Producer Joey V here. There's still a lot of questions surrounding the Minneapolis ice shooting, and Tim and Chris are going to ask them to Washington Examiner Homeland Security reporter Anna Giratelli at 5:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here for Newsteader's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous bull of a watch, WowDiamonds.com.
JC's Wayback Machine.
Well, after one holiday, then the flu, which I'm still battling, and another holiday, we are back with the star of Song Sung Blue with Kate Hudson, actor Hugh Jackman, plus great tunes from the 90s, 80s, and 70s. And it's all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group. This is a truly unique show. Nobody in St. Louis radio is doing what we do, so why don't you join us?
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Think we're still going to be playing that liner in 3 months?
Oh, wow.
I'm just asking the question.
Is he getting teased about possibly being replaced, do you think?
I don't know. I'm saying I have no idea why I would ask that question.
I don't know.
Oh, man. All right. Will Minnesota burn again?
I don't know.
Yeah, the answer is I think we're going to find out very, very soon.
Yeah.
You've seen that video. 314-912-1019. Got some thoughts on that? Let me know here. Tell me what you think. We got some sound bites here and thoughts from Kristi Noem and Mayor Jacob Fry. You know, Tim Fitch mentioned him. Jason Law just mentioned him. This is not just gross in that he's wrong and crazy left-wingy and that sort of thing, but he's inflaming and making it more likely that there are violent showdowns because of his nonsense on there. So we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. I mean, already an intense week around the country, and it's also around the world. So, Susie, what's being covered today on Red State.
This is the Red State Rundown.
Well, of course, we are covering the situation in Minnesota, not just the fraud, but obviously the shooting yesterday. There's all kinds of Minnesota coverage. I'm tired of Minnesota, but that is all over our front page. But we are also covering other things. For instance, did you know that yesterday President Trump and Marco Rubio yanked support from 66 international organizations that no longer serve American interests? Those are kind of UN entities and climate change entities. They
Some
did a
of
full
them
review.
never did.
So yeah, they did a full review, and now they've decided to yank support of that. So if you want to check out that list of organizations that they pulled support from, Bob Hogue has that article up on Red State. Also, gentlemen we're going to speak with very shortly, Bill Cruz has got an article up. Is it go time in Iran? Well, all this is going on here. There's a lot afoot in Iran and something to keep an eye on. So you'll want to check out that article as well. And this one speaks to me as a Gen Xer. It's a VIP article from our friend Terry Christoph. It's titled How the Food Pyramid Tried to Kill Off Generation X.
Oh.
Yeah, you might want to check that one out.
Yeah, because they made a whole big deal yesterday. And the funny thing is, in a normal day, we'd be talking about it. We're just so overwhelmed with so many bigger things.
Did you see the tweet from Secretary Kennedy?
About alcohol or which one?
It was about the food pyramid.
Oh,
it's like a South
didn't.
Park-esque little skit. It's like 20-second skit, and it's about reversing the food pyramid. It is hilarious.
Okay, I got to check.
So you got to check out his Twitter feed.
Yeah, I got to check that one out. Okay, so we know the basics right now.
Mm-hmm.
A woman was shot and was killed by ICE after driving her car directly at that officer.
Yes.
Okay. Now this was after not following orders to get out of the car. Now, if you're on the left and you're anti-ICE and you're pro-protester, there's not a word of what I just said that you can argue is inaccurate.
Oh, that won't stop him.
Right. I mean, everything I just said is just a fact. She was shot. She was shot by an ICE officer. She was shot after driving the car directly at the officer.
So that's one of the things they're going to argue, is that maybe she wasn't intending to drive at the officer.
Well, I didn't say anything about that.
I know, but that's where they're going to go.
I'm already seeing people trying to phrase it as the car was going towards the officer after she'd already been shot. So
but that's wrong. But that's not true.
Well, it's wrong, but that's what they're latching onto right now.
Yeah, I mean, that is verifiably false from the video.
I saw one fairly large follower account saying he shot her through the side window. Well, then you see the crashed vehicle and the bullet hole is clearly in the windshield.
On the windshield, yeah.
And you do not have to be a CSI expert to see the direction that the shot came from.
No, and in fact, if you watch the video carefully, you can see he doesn't even pull his weapon until her car is in drive.
Correct, yeah.
So,
and the car was in reverse.
Yes.
A split second before that.
Yes.
Because the video from behind, and there are three angles that I've seen.
Yep.
Maybe there are more out there, but I've seen three. One of them was from behind, and you saw it in reverse, and then you see her go forward.
Correct.
Now, I've heard somebody argue she probably just panicked because she got surrounded by police.
She probably did. Maybe.
That may very
Guess
well
what?
be true. Yeah.
You can't do that in that situation.
Well, here's what Secretary Kristi Noem had to say regarding the vehicle and this whole situation.
ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle.
Yeah. Now, somebody says, well, she didn't mean to. That's irrelevant. If a car is coming right at you, it doesn't matter what mindset they're in. The 3,000-pound vehicle is coming at you. Well, the cop could have jumped out of the way. Well, maybe he had time. Maybe he didn't, but it was coming right at him, and he was right there. It actually did hit him. I mean, so he got partially out of the way, but it actually hit him.
Yeah. The other thing that has been pointed out to me is, and then this is part of that training and why there is the ability, the legal authority to use deadly force to stop this. Because if a person is willing to drive at a police officer, they're willing to drive at anybody. Yeah. They're willing to run over somebody. They're likely to cause harm to others.
Right.
So it's not even a matter of just self-defense, but it's also defense of the community at that point if someone is driving a vehicle at you.
And Mayor Jacob Fry, we've had a lot of fun at his expense because he's such a flamboyant soy boy. And he decided he wants to start talking tough. And, of course, he's going to blame anything related to the Trump administration on this, and he's blaming ICE for this. And here's part of his ranting and raving.
Get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Okay, nobody cares if you want them there or not.
Yeah.
I mean, and nobody takes you seriously as a tough guy.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, the whole premise of we don't want you here. Okay, they're enforcing federal immigration law, which is on the books.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of their role. That's part of we don't want you here. It's an emotional argument.
Right.
It's a passionate argument, but it has no grounding in like reality and the law.
Well, there's a very simple solution to this as well. If you don't want ICE to be in your city, then maybe get rid of the people that ICE is going after.
Don't be a sanctuary city.
Don't roll out the red carpet for people that are going to be there illegally.
So Governor Tim Walz was basically trying to play all angles of this. You know, if you say, well, what was his position? Which one? He had multiple ones. Here's part of his appeal.
If you're in Portland or you're in LA or you're in Chicago or you're wherever they're coming next, stand with us. Stand with us against this. This was so preventable.
Stand with us, meaning stand against federal law enforcement trying to get people in the country illegally out of the country. That's what he's saying. So what have all the other calls to stand with us or stand against them resulted in? Violence, attacks on federal law enforcement, all in support of people who are criminally in the country, without permission.
We haven't talked about this yet, at least I don't think so, about what led. I mean, the video starts right in the moments before this shooting happened.
Right.
It's not completely pinned down. It hasn't been, independently verified to my satisfaction. But it sounds as though this woman in this vehicle and the people that she was with and that were out there filming this was an ongoing situation. Mm-hmm. This didn't just happen where she was trying to leave her parking space and here came they were tailing this ICE.
And she had them blocked in on the street.
She did.
Yeah, that was part of what she was doing why were they going to her? Because nobody suspected her being an illegal alien. She was blocking law enforcement and interfering with whatever it was they were doing.
Yes. And I mean, it's important for people to know this didn't just spring up out of nowhere. This was an ongoing thing. I don't know for how long. I don't know if it had been minutes, half an hour, but there was an ongoing situation with this vehicle and other people trying to interfere with the ICE operation.
Yeah. So we're going to get a lot more details on this. The physical facts of the case are pretty clear.
They are.
Even though I am, like you all have said, we're hearing people try to invent things that did not happen.
Yes.
What, the left inventing things that don't happen and being disingenuous?
It's not even the left. I mean, it is the left, but I'm seeing people that I wouldn't say are on the left kind of fall prey to that mentality. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching and I'm keeping my mouth shut because I just don't want to go down that road with people that I care about. But I'm seeing people say things that are factually inaccurate. And it's like, ugh.
Well, something that is factually accurate, though, is that this is the last call for 80s bump music for Flashback Friday. Since it's a new year, I want the songs that get you motivated, pumped up, and ready to rock. So, send your best motivational 80s bump music to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
They think that they're hardcore. We are so much more hardcore.
On Newstalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit vincentsjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
The Mondami train is on track, and it will run over anyone not accepting the Marxist communist doctrine. While running for mayor, Mondami advocated a rent freeze. You know, at first blush, that sounds good. Protecting citizens from landlords jacking up the rent. But there's an obvious effect you're supposed to ignore. If landlords, apartment builders are told they're not going to be able to increase rent, they're going to back away. That's going to mean fewer apartments available, and that shortage will hurt. What about the more fortunate who can buy an apartment, a condo, a house? The Mondami regime will do what it can to stop you. In fact, Mondami's tenant czar says, and I quote, "Private property ownership, home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy." Yes, Mondami's going to ignore the fact there are New Yorkers of color who actually own homes and property. But come on, for the sake of the Marxist agenda, just ignore that narrative, that fact. Well, the Furman Center, which focuses on housing and urban development, does acknowledge Black and Hispanic households have the lowest ownership rate. But the highest demographic of ownership in New York City is not whites, it is Asians. 45% ownership.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday right here on News Talk STL, 9 a.m. for the Serenity Wealth Now show. This week, we've got special guests Ryan and Coda with RC Fabrications. They're going to come into the studio and talk to us a little bit about fabrication. We're going to talk about finance. And of course, we're going to have some fun in the process. So tune in, News Talk STL, or on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets, 9 a.m. on Sunday.
Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Hey, Jamie Allman here. When your car needs attention, trust who I trust. Benchmark Complete Auto in Valley Park. 25 years as a family-owned and operated company, Benchmark is your Napa Auto Care Center for nearly every maintenance and repair, using the latest technology and top-quality parts. Need help with the bill? Well, ask about Napa's Easy Pay financing. Mention Jamie Allman and News Talk STL and get 10% off. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com, BenchmarkAutoRepair.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connors USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, the power struggle in South America, it's not just about what's happening in South America.
No.
Okay, that's one of the key points to remember here. It's not even just necessarily about our hemisphere, although primarily it is. It's got global implications. You can agree or disagree with what's being done, but just understand there's a much bigger picture here. 7:37 right now. I'm Mike. That's Susie. That's Jerome right there. The gang's back together in the studio here
Woo-hoo.
after a road trip to the Capitol yesterday. Joined now by Bill Cruz. You would know him as Streiff on RedState. You've been busy writing on this, Bill. Let me start with I picked out 3 of your articles from the last 24 hours or so. Trump sends a powerful message by snatching rogue oil tanker under the nose of the Russian Navy. So we're hearing about Venezuelan oil. We're talking about U.S. sanctions. Now, there's certainly a lot of questions whether if we issue a sanction, that doesn't mean that we can go just take your stuff. But either way, what's Russia got to do with all of this?
Well, that's a very good question. It's looking more and more like this fleet of 340 plus dark fleet tankers are basically Russian operational assets. They have started reflagging some of these dark fleet tankers as Russian ships in the past few days. And of course, the most notorious one was the Bella One, which suddenly painted a Russian flag on the side of its ship and appeared on the Russian shipping registry as the Marinera, and to try to evade capture. I think the thing with Russia is that the fleets that they manage, they load up oil in Iran, they load up oil in Venezuela, they run it to China, they transload it offshore to Chinese tankers. It goes into Chinese refineries, but because the oil is sanctioned, they're able to get the oil at below market rate because there's nobody else that can buy it. So this is I've really been impressed with the strategy that is going on here of basically evicting the Russians, the Iranians, the Cubans, and the Chinese from most of South America. And so, I mean, it's been pretty impressive.
Bill, do you have the Russians responded to the incident with the Marinera? I know it does sound like they've been scrambling now to reflag some of these ships.
Sounds like we've gone after the Italians.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I was watching the breaking news come in yesterday on the air, and I was trying to pronounce it. I'm like, was the Bella? Now it's the Marinera.
Yeah, exactly. Not to be confused with the sauce.
Exactly.
No, exactly, because the fettuccine is still rogan out there on the out there on the high seas.
Yeah, it's so the whole Marinera thing is very interesting. The ship was coming into Venezuela allegedly empty. The Russians reflagged the ship, put it in their shipping registry, and one of the posts that I did last week, they basically told Trump to back off and let the ship go. A couple of days ago, the Russians announced they were sending out a submarine and some surface combatants to escort the Marinera safely to wherever it was going. I really think at some level they thought that was the end of the story, and it simply wasn't. I just think that's a real gutsy act by Trump. Just to say, fine, we're not playing mystical name changes on ships. We sanctioned this ship. We don't care what you call it, and we're taking it. But the official Russian response was sort of muted. But on the Russian political social media side was absolutely unhinged. It was obvious that the people that are allowed to cover politics in Russia were just given free rein to say basically whatever they wanted to. They were advocating assassinating Trump, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be, and another interesting thing was the Russians wanted guarantees that we would return Russian citizens on the Marinera to Russia. I think once our guys got on the ship, they're going to find that there are some interesting people and some interesting things on there that have nothing to do with oil. There was really no logical reason for an empty tanker to take off and run. I mean, why? It just doesn't make any sense. So we'll see what happens here.
Talk a little bit about that escalation as far as sending a submarine and whether it was a battleship or whatever the surface level would be. That's a message that's being sent. Saying we're willing to engage, or we're at least going to have the threat of engagement. I don't remember that in any recent memory. So that is an escalation, obviously in response to the U.S. escalation on it. Are we at a point where we need to start considering the fact that there might actually be some hot action on this?
Well, interesting question. So on the mechanics of this, as 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment was employed in Caracas, they also sent part of the regiment by aircraft, and I mean, their helicopters and staged them in Britain. I don't think the Brits had something of a hand in this. When they did the interception, what I have read in a couple of places is that we had an AC-130 gunship orbiting overhead, and we had a P-8 Poseidon anti-submarine aircraft orbiting overhead. So it looks like we responded to their escalation with an escalation, and they blinked.
Bill,
I'm having Bay of Pigs,
well,
references going through my head here.
I don't know. Bill, you also wrote on the Venezuela situation, noting that the casualty toll from the operation that took place over the weekend kind of emphasizes or underscores that what President Trump meant when he said it was very violent. Obviously, there were no U.S. Soldiers or personnel killed. We're glad for that, but there were some casualties.
Right. The Venezuelan/Cuban roster, and they've released a roster by name of the people killed. They are admitting to 55 fatalities, 32 Cubans, and the rest Venezuelan military. The U.S. assessment of casualties was 75. But what this shows is that the level of training of our Tier 1 Special Forces unit are so superior to anything out there. It's really doubtful that the Cuban security detail had very much time to react at all to what happens, because they're blowing the door, they're coming through, clearing rooms, anything that moves gets shot, and they grab the target and move on. So. But yes, it was apparently we had 7 guys wounded. 2 are still in the hospital, as far as I know. 5 were treated and released right at the end of the mission. So we had no fatalities, which was a great thing. But I think that the psychological impact of our guys going in there, killing 50 to 70 Cubans and Venezuelans and waltzing out without a scratch, is going to be heard in a lot of places in the world.
All right, we're visiting with Bill Cruz from RedState.com. Of course, updates throughout the day here. Real quick, and I'm a little over time here, Bill, but you also wrote regarding Venezuela's new leader. What do we know about her, and frankly, what influence does she have right now? Because it's not like everything was cured overnight with the raid and Maduro being taken into custody.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so one of her brothers, she has a brother who is the defense minister. He has, as I recall, a $25 million bounty on his head. She has another brother who is the interior minister. He has a $15 million bounty on his head. I just find it far-fetched to think that the innocent little sister who is now running the country is doing nothing at all with drugs if she has 2 brothers and her boss are all up to their eyeballs in it. I am sort of cautiously optimistic on this, but I think obviously this woman, Delcy Rodriguez, really has to go. She is undoubtedly indicted in the U.S. She is complicit in all the crimes that that Maduro was involved in. She's been a long-term soldier for Hugo Chavez and Maduro, and I still think she's trustworthy. And when one of her first acts as president is ordering the arrest of everybody who celebrated Maduro's capture, that sort of tells you what you're dealing with. So it remains to be seen how all that plays out. I just can't see her being a long-term solution.
All right, Bill Cruz, otherwise known as Streiff on RedState. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks very much.
Hey, if you liked what you heard just now and you want to share it with somebody else, guess what? You're going to be able to do that because we have podcasts of all of our shows and sometimes the individual segments. For instance, each of the individual segments from yesterday at the Capitol. You can go to our webpage. You can go to Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, and you can find the podcasts for each of those segments and for the show. Be sure to like and subscribe to it and listen to us here on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, Kansas City Chiefs may have one foot out the door, but the Kansas City Royals may be stuck right where they are. Yeah, and that could mean they're out of luck trying to get the corporate welfare from the state.
Oops.
Yeah, so this is an interesting chain of events here, okay? Multiple reports coming out of not just Kansas City, but out of Kansas. I also saw an article on the Heartlander on this as well, is that just as a lot of us were warning, the Chiefs and the Royals wanted an offer from Missouri for the corporate welfare for these stadiums. It apparently just in order to go to Kansas and say, you've got to beat this.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind, and we now basically have this confirmed with the Chiefs, but there's no doubt in my mind that both teams wanted to leave Kansas City, Missouri.
Right.
They wanted to go into Kansas, both of them. And over here in this part of the state, it's hard for a lot of people, I think, to understand that. But in the Kansas City area, their bi-state area, they don't have a river dividing them. They have a street called State Line Road.
Yes.
Literally, you're driving north, you're on the Missouri side. You're driving south, you're on the Kansas side.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the dotted lane line in the middle is the state line.
Exactly.
Neighbors who are next to each other are in different states. That's literally State Line Road. But on the Kansas side, that's the far more affluent area.
It is.
It's a very wealthy area in Johnson County, Kansas, and that area. So here's what we're finding out now, that the Royals reached out to Kansas officials earlier this month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's significant because Kansas was trying to offer, all of the public financing bonds and everything to help them pay for, if not pay for most of a new stadium for the Royals if they moved to Kansas. And they said, but after all of this time, you've got till December 31st to give us an answer whether or not we're going to do this or not. Well, the Missouri legislature comes up with a big corporate welfare plan, offers them hundreds of millions of dollars to have a stadium built either downtown or North Kansas City, somewhere over there, but in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And after that offer came in, now some elected officials in Kansas are telling media, yeah, they reached out in January. And we told them, we've moved on. We're not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, but no thanks.
So quite literally, they snoozed and then they lose.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, precisely. And what's also interesting is that there's a section of the Kansas City metro area in Kansas City North.
Right.
Or North Kansas City,
well,
which are actually two different things.
Yeah.
North Kansas City is an actual community. That's a suburb.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City North is the northern part of the metro area.
An area. Mm-hmm.
So the Kansas City North area in that county up there, they were trying to say, we'll build a stadium here, we'll keep it in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
but then we want it up here, and they wanted like a ballpark village. Is really what they wanted. Downtown 101, and even they told local media in Kansas City, "Now we're done. We're done negotiating with them. We're not interested. We haven't shelved the project. We've walked away from it."
Right.
So, not going to happen downtown. Not going to happen in the north side of the metro area. Not going to happen in Kansas. That means, as of right now, the Kansas City Royals get to stay right where they are and do not get the corporate welfare that they wanted. That was approved for them.
Whoops.
Well, look who came crawling back.
That's right.
So I have this theory. I could be wrong. I'm just going to put this out there. When this first broke with the Chiefs, and we were talking about, this is not a good deal for Kansas.
Oh, it's terrible.
They're dancing around like woohoo, and it's like you just bought a pigskin and a poke.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering if that actually is playing into their decision, because yes, clearly the Royals didn't meet the December 31st deadline, but right now it's January 8th. So that means they went back to them within a couple of days of the deadline.
Yeah.
And if Kansas was really interested, they'd say, well, okay, fine, we'll still consider it.
Right.
They're not considering it. So I'm almost wondering if they're having buyer's remorse.
I think there's something to that.
Okay.
Because as more and more details of this come out on the Chiefs thing, what we're finding is far more people are going to pay more in taxes than was originally told. Their stadium district, for lack of a better term, is like 450 square miles. It's massive. It goes through 2 counties. It's huge. And honestly, it covers close to like half the population of Kansas, because most of the population is in the Kansas City area.
In the eastern
and then
area.
you've got Wichita.
Yeah.
And so people were getting skeptical after that. And then you find out that the Chiefs had been negotiating the details for 2 years. We find out that the city of Olathe, where the headquarters is going to be, they've admitted now, we had a non-disclosure agreement going back 2 years. So the Chiefs never intended to stay in Missouri. That's pretty obvious, but they sure needed the leverage, and unfortunately, our state government gave them some leverage.
I just wanted to say pigskin and a poke, and you can credit me for that if you use that going forward, because I feel like it's appropriate.
What was the other one? Caterwauling. You said caterwauling the other day. That was a good one, too. I like that one.
I like having fun with words.
The lawmakers in Jefferson City are furious.
Understandably.
Yes, and both sides, but especially those who fell for it and voted for the corporate welfare thing.
Yeah,
because they got burned. And so they're looking at what can they do legislatively to start clawing stuff back from the Chiefs, and they want to be punitive on the Chiefs between now and when they leave. I don't know what they can do. I don't know that there's much they can do on that, but they want to stick it to them somehow.
Maybe rethink that whole corporate welfare mentality.
Yeah.
Consider doing that, huh?
So the Royals, though, have zero leverage. I mean, the only thing they can do is say, well, maybe we'll go to Nashville. Nashville doesn't want them.
Yeah. Interesting.
And maybe we'll go to where? Well, okay, give it a shot. But right now they've given up all of their leverage because they thought they could play the game the way that the Chiefs played the game. And
maybe they could combine forces with the Cardinals and make a better team altogether.
That's right. Put together the Missouri All-Star team.
Right.
Hey, they're the best. I would argue the best player in the American Leagues on the Kansas City Royals right now.
Don't doubt it.
Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, I would put him up there against any others. He's an exciting player to watch.
Yeah.
They want him to be their next George Brett.
Well, he's going to be so in Kansas City Mo.
He's going to be on Mo. And by the way, Kauffman Stadium is a really nice stadium.
It is.
It is a easy stadium to get in and out of relatively, and it is a very pretty stadium. Why the owners wanted more corporate welfare for another, giant shrine just shows that their greed got out ahead of their common sense.
Whoops.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
SR1 Sundays.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Kaiser. Be sure and check out my show, Straight Lines, this and every Sunday at 8 p.m., right after Stand and Fight, part of SR1 Sundays. Let's meet right here and let's peel back some layers of this crazy world, and you might be surprised at what we find. Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser on SR1 Sundays at 8 p.m., right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser on News Talk STL.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit BlueOceanMediaGroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. It was a case of self-defense. That's what Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says about the fatal shooting of a motorist in Minneapolis by an ICE agent. She says agents were trying to enforce federal immigration law when the motorist weaponized her vehicle. As for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's claim that the feds refused to cooperate with the state.
And that's simply not true. He said that to me on the phone, too, so I'll get him the documentation that he needs so that he knows that we would love to coordinate with him. He doesn't give us access to any information on criminals, let us know who he's detained, doesn't honor our detainers, and has individuals and criminals in his jurisdiction that he won't turn over.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey calls on federal agents to get out of the city.
We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis.
And President Trump is chiming in on the situation.
After watching eyewitness video of the incident, the president described it as a horrible thing to watch. In a social media post, he then claimed, without evidence, that the woman behind the wheel was obviously a professional agitator. The president also said the woman viciously ran over the ICE officer, even though video from the scene does not show any federal agents being run over by the vehicle. The president blamed the radical left for assaulting federal agents. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Denmark is welcoming the chance to meet next week with Secretary of State Rubio. They'll discuss the Trump administration's renewed interest in acquiring Greenland. Vice President Vance has criticized Denmark's handling of Greenland security, emphasizing its strategic importance. The longest-serving Democrat in Congress, Maryland Congressman Steny Hoyer, set to announce he's retiring the end of his current term. Wall Street, the Dow futures down 173. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's something about the feel of a gold coin in your hand and the way the light reflects off its intricate details that has always captivated me. Nick Grovich, AmFed's owner, turned that same passion into his livelihood. Nick began collecting coins as a teen, and that interest grew into a nationally respected business offering only the finest quality coins at the most competitive prices. But the truth is that although Nick is a rare coin dealer, he doesn't believe in rare coins. Rare coins do not make sound investments, but they do make dealers a lot of money. See, that's part of what I respect about him. AmFed specializes in buying non-performing numismatic coins and turning them into gold or silver investments that provide liquidity and perform competitively against the market. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peters, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Fort Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at SteffsPizza.com. Steff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Mike Ferguson.
Boo! Relax, nerd.
Susie Moore.
Now would be a good time to respond with some applause.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
That's a banana republic without the banana.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
So how well are our friends in the mainstream media accepting the fact of massive fraud in Minnesota, which is going to open the door into looking at massive fraud everywhere else? So I say asking about how they're accepting it even matters.
Yeah, it does seem like they're behind the curve when it comes to actually reporting the facts in detail so far.
Yeah, well, reporting it. Not knowing about it, reporting it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're now joined by Tim Graham from our friends at NewsBusters. And I think it's the premise. I don't know if we should send him a condolence card or whatever the case is. Sorry for your loss. But mainstream media, they at some point have to report on these things, even though it goes against their narrative. And we're finding out from the hearings in Washington, D.C. yesterday, Tim, that they've known about the fraud, but they've either intentionally or unintentionally been part of not reporting on it and trying to keep the story as quiet as possible.
And certainly when it could have been nationally relevant, when Kamala Harris, in her genius, selected Tim Walz as her running mate, this really should have been a story. And we could almost blame, where were the Republicans not drawing this message out in the fall campaign? But certainly this is not a news story. And the thing that's really annoying right now, when you're not utterly ignoring this story, they use these phrases where they're like, well, allegations of fraud. No. We're well beyond allegations. We have a pile of convictions. And so, these are the people that really get upset when they say, don't both sides an issue. Now you're trying to both sides it and say, well, maybe there's fraud, maybe there's not. That's kind of what that suggests when you denigrate it down to allegations of fraud. It's quite clear there are convictions of fraud, and you have a government in the state of Minnesota that turned a blind eye to it. Or in the case of Attorney General Ellison, basically suggested, let me help you get away with this.
Yeah, I mean, there are times to use the word alleged, but that is, to the point you're making, before there's an admission or a conviction. I mean, so once that happens, then the facts are confirmed on there. So you're tracking how the media is covering all of this. And the fact of the matter is, it matters because at one point, conservative media is saying, hey, look at this Nick Shirley video. This is showing some, these are some just undeniable things. And now we're finding out, wait a minute, they've known about this for years. Nick Shirley didn't break the story. Nick Shirley exposed it to a much broader audience. So what's been the trend in mainstream media as to how they are covering the actual story of the fraud? And then we can get into them kind of turning and trying to go after the messenger.
We have new study numbers coming out this morning, and the one network who's been doing this consistently in recent weeks is CBS. And the network that's doing the worst is ABC, who I think is up to 35 seconds. ABC spent much more time demonizing Donald Trump for raising the issue. You know, when Donald Trump came out and said the Somalis are basically a net negative in America, they all were very offended by that. For them, that was not a fact or, based allegation. Like, you're not going to actually say, well, are they a net positive? They don't even ask. They just suggest he's a racist. We don't have to investigate. How are the Somalis assimilating? How are the Somalis in Minneapolis? What's their rate of welfare usage? They're not going to even ask those questions. Their assumption is always massive immigration is our strength, and don't question it.
So 35 seconds on ABC. I am intrigued by the fact that you say CBS has done the best out of the mainstream. I mean, obviously there's been a change with Barry Weiss running things there. How has CBS been covering it? Because it wasn't that long ago that I would have argued CBS is the worst outside MSNBC.
Yeah, they have a reporter on the scene, Jonah Kaplan, who's done a series of stories. And this is what they should all be doing. Mm-hmm. How hard is it? And it's not like CBS is doing it round the clock. It's not like CBS is doing 25 minutes of 60 Minutes on it. It's just they're doing better than the others. But that should be the expectation for everyone. And I think this is why people are so upset with Barry Weiss. They're now already upset at the new evening news anchor, Tony DeCopel, because they're basically like, well, let's try to go down the middle. Let's try to hold all sides accountable. And Tony DeCopel said, our mission is to hold all sides accountable. That's a revolutionary statement. And that is very much against the traditional history of CBS News, going back to Edward R. Murrow and Cronkite. This has always been a network of aggressive bias in favor of the Democratic Party. So when you say I'm going to hold all sides accountable, that means holding Tim Walz accountable for massive fraud. They're like, we can't do that. Well, you certainly can. You're just choosing not to. Well, in this case, yeah, CBS is demonstrating we're going to cover the fraud no matter which party is exposed here.
So they're flirting with journalism then.
That is the phrase.
Yeah, exactly. We're visiting with Tim Graham from NewsBusters. And so with this report that comes out on this, I mean, I have a feeling we all know what the numbers are going to say, but at some point is the market demand, be it conversation on social media when it comes to maybe the viewership of things like Newsmax or Fox or who are covering this. I mean, at some point is mainstream media being forced to cover the issue? And then the follow-up, I'll just say right now, is going to be, okay, well, let's talk about the angle they're taking at CNN already went after Nick Shirley within, hours, basically trying to discredit him and the video.
Yeah, now you could try to say, gee, this Nick Shirley is like in his 20s and he's a YouTuber, and that's the sort of dismissive language they use. But here's what that CNN reporting really says. How dare you talk about this topic? We at CNN have decided this topic is not to be defined as news. We are the snobs. We will determine what is news. This is not news because we don't like the way it's going. That's what that says. Now, in terms of the business, I mean, CNN is in the basement compared to Fox. MS Now still ahead of CNN, despite the terrible name it has now. They don't look at business. I really don't think these people look at business. But here is what's interesting. The new CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel has seen an increase in viewership. Now, if that continues, it is an interesting little asterisk to say, you could maybe draw a bigger audience by actually acknowledging that there's a middle, that there's a center. That's what we really haven't had much of in the news media. I think some people would say they're upset that we have, the right-wing news channels than the left-wing news channels. And so if CBS says, well, let's try to hold both sides accountable, the left hates that. But if it succeeds, that creates a different incentive structure.
Is there a market for just objective news? I mean, News Nation is trying to build a reputation on doing that. Newsy tried to do it before then, and now CBS is saying, you know what, let's just report the facts. Kind of like Fox News used to say, we report, you decide. Everybody says that's what they want, but I'm not convinced that people really want that. We want somebody to report it from our angle, which is why some people go to Fox and some people go to Newsmax. Other people go to, MS Now, I guess, and CNN and all of those. But is there a significant portion that will respect and will consume somebody who's actually trying to just tell the truth and leave the influence out of it?
That is the question. And yes, we have to suggest that News Nation, it's new enough that there's probably a lot of Americans who on their cable or satellite systems are like, where is that? They may not know exactly how to find that. But you could certainly, up to this point, say, here's a channel which has explicitly declared itself to be sort of in the center. And it's losing to Newsmax. And so at this point, you're not going to see this is a dramatically successful format in a business sense. But I think everybody knows where their CBS channel is if they're still watching broadcast TV. I mean, that's the other fascinating part of where we're going as a country. And that is Americans under 35 are like, what's broadcast TV?
Yeah, I mean, even on News Nation, I mean, that's an app, the streaming app, and I can just tune into their channel like I do with Newsmax, or like some of the others on there. So, Tim, in the last minute or so that we've got here, this report, these numbers that are going to be coming out regarding the Minnesota fraud, generally speaking, what are the trends that we can look forward to? And then we'll tell everybody how to find those here in a little bit.
Well, I mean, I just hope on all of these stories, can they just simply try to tell us what happened today, what happened yesterday? What's so wrong with the news media right now is they constantly try to tell us what's going to happen next. Could they please stop trying to tell us what happened next? So Donald Trump comes in with the military, takes out Maduro, and they start doing stories about how this is going to cause World War III, this is going to cause a massive increase in gas prices or whatever. And it's like, you don't know that. Mm-hmm. None of us know that. Why do you have to predict what's going to happen in the future when none of us know what the future holds? Why don't you tell us what happened yesterday? And one of the reasons they don't want to do that is that you look at this mission and you say, oh my, what a remarkably successful mission, whether you agree with it or not. It was incredibly effective, no loss of life, no loss of aircraft, and a successful mission. But as it always is, it seems like the news formula is, how can we cast everything this administration does in the most negative way imaginable?
Yeah, and as far as the predicting what's next or what could happen here, that the media, this is one of the things that I've seen in the industry over the years, Tim, and you've been in the media business like I have for a long time, is that for some reason we have to establish ourselves as the experts and ourselves as the fortune tellers instead of going to those who are looked at, as experts and let them tell the story and we let them tell their story. We're supposed to be the end-all, be-all source of everything.
Well, I think I always look at these things, in addition to saying, please report what already happened instead of what's gonna, is yes, it requires humility. It would be nice for journalists to have humility and not walk around like pompous, like I'm today's Edward R. Murrow, like that's a good thing. It's have the humility, as you suggest, to say, I don't know everything. most journalists are not experts in everything they're covering. You might have some narrow areas of expertise. People on the beat of like the Pentagon are going to know a lot more about defense than the rest of us. But a lot of these journalists, a lot of political journalists, are just running around. They're generalists. So have some humility. You don't know everything about every topic. I think that would be something that would lead to greater trust in the media product instead of so much editorializing, opinionating, saying that Trump is over every day. That just loses people.
Yeah, I've been in the media business for a long time. Humility is in very short supply in this industry. I'll tell you that. All right, Tim, where are we going to find that update and the report and the tracking of the Minnesota fraud coverage on mainstream media? Where do we get in touch with you for that?
We're at newsbusters.org. Our Bill D'Agostino has been tracking the numbers on this Somali story. And yes, that hearing yesterday really was a revealing hearing. But you know what? Our networks don't like hearings headed by Republicans. They just don't. And that's again, why don't you let the Republicans hold someone accountable?
Yep, exactly. All right, Tim, good talking to you again. Thanks so much.
You bet.
All right, our podcast, our On Demand, very, very busy yesterday with our show that was done at the state capitol. So you can check out all of those exclusive conversations from Missouri's legislative session opening, including with Governor Mike Kehoe and, of course, State Senator Nick Schroer. We also visit with Susan Klein from Missouri Right to Life. We talked to a lot of people there, so you can check all of that out. Make sure that you subscribe to Mike Ferguson in the Morning right there on the podcast page. Stop right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
There's something wrong with him. He's a sick puppy.
On News Talk STL.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn to serve them. Join the freedom13.org for an unforgettable gala honoring America's heroes, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles. A special evening supporting Freedom 13's bold mission. 50 camps in 50 states on more than 50,000 acres, building 650 homes for veterans, police, and their families. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. Visit thefreedom13.org. That's thefreedom13.org.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Are you ready to take a totally tubular trip down memory lane? Join us for the ultimate 80s and 90s trivia night, raising funds for the Nick Schroer for State Senate campaign. Dust off your neon, grab your friends, and test your knowledge on all the classics, from mixtapes to sitcoms, boy bands to blockbuster hits, and maybe even some political questions. It's all happening Saturday night, January 31st at the Elks Lodge in O'Fallon, Mo. Reserve your table now by emailing nick@nickschroer.com.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL.
Got a pretty tense standoff happening in Minneapolis as we speak. I'm watching one of the live news streams on that right now. It's a whole bunch of armed law enforcement basically protecting. I don't know what that is, what property they're protecting right there. And then a lot of people filling up a street, antagonizing and trying to provoke them right now.
That always goes so well for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's peaceful at the moment, other than some pretty ugly stuff, being argued and thrown. Looks like some of the law enforcement has that guy right there. Looks like that is going to be sort of a rubber bullet situation right there. But others have the real thing, and they're ready to go. But body language is pretty tense right now.
Yeah, they definitely have the pepper spray ready. I think that looks to me like more like a paintball gun. And when during the Black Lives Matter riots that hit my town when we went, that usually indicates that something was happening where they're showing that they're willing to use some sort of force, but it does not look like they're actually in a threatening. And they're keeping the crowd back away from them right now.
Yeah,
so.
the crowd is trying to antagonize as much as they can. They're trying to provoke, and law enforcement is just kind of holding their ground. So looks like I'd say probably about 15 feet between them right there, 15, 20 feet
15
maybe.
Feet, and it looks like they keep trying to toe the line a little bit, and to the law enforcement's credit, it looks like they're just kind of shooing them back a little bit. It's not like they're
there's no physical contact at the moment, but the question is going to be, are we going to see another round of violent protest?
I mean, I was not the one being maced, but I got a good whiff of it from somebody next to me, and it does not feel good. So I recommend you stay where they're telling you to stay, because that stuff hurts.
Yeah. Also, so we're going to give you the update on that here in a second. Also, the illegal alien who killed a St. Louis police officer learns his fate today. Got an update from you on the Blues game last night. That did not go well, at least from St. Louis's perspective.
I would say it went very well.
Yeah, you think it does. All right, 8:23 right now. Let's go ahead and sneak in another news dump here.
Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Yeah, there's some people that are already have full-on gas masks. A few of them there. Others already covering their faces. This could get really, really ugly here, so we'll see what's going to happen. All right. As you know, a woman was shot and killed by an ICE police officer yesterday while her vehicle was being driven directly at the ICE officer. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem being asked about that yesterday.
It's clearly established law that a vehicle driven by a person and used to harm someone is a deadly weapon. Deadly force is perfectly lawful when a threat is faced by a weapon. So I do believe that this officer used his training in this situation.
And Mayor Jacob Fry among the leftist leaders who were also having their own press conferences, and he was frankly actively inflaming the situation.
What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets, and in this case, quite literally killing people.
Yeah, so beyond irresponsible, and inflammatory, without a doubt, in addition to just not being true.
Like factually incorrect information, yes.
Yeah, precisely. Governor Tim Walz was among those speaking as well. He's been talking out of both sides of his mouth on this whole thing. On one hand, he was saying, please be peaceful, please protest peacefully. But on the other hand, he's calling on people to rise up.
If you're in Portland or you're in L.A. or you're in Chicago or you're wherever they're coming next, stand with us. Stand with us against this. This was so preventable.
Well, he is right. It was preventable. All that had to happen is this woman who was driving the car needed to, 1, not try to box in federal law enforcement agents, 2, comply when they said get out of the car, and 3, don't drive directly at a police officer.
Yeah, and we played. I played some of the clips of the slow-mo version of the video, and it's clear as day. She went out of reverse, started to accelerate forward. The cop actually tried to position away from the vehicle before firing after the car had already been driving. So I don't want to hear and see any of this nonsense that people are spreading right now. This is a actual justified, in my opinion, so far based on what we're seeing, a justified occurrence. And now we have a crowd of people that are trying to.
Police are advancing on them right now. They are being very, very gentle, but telling them to back up. They are outnumbered hundreds to 1.
Yeah, that's a very large crowd.
I mean, this is a big crowd. This is a big crowd. Now, so far, they seem to be complying. They're cussing them out, but the cops are saying, you got to back up, got to get out of the street.
Well, that's your First Amendment right, though. You
right.
Can, you can swear at cops.
Absolutely, you can.
Hit them with cars or push on them.
Right. So they're giving them the business, but when the police are telling them to back up, they seem to be doing it. So far, it's rude but peaceful.
Yeah, I mean, but you can just from how they're dressed, so you can tell it's a lot of loony people in that crowd. Yeah. I mean, these are not sane, rational, stably minded individuals, and that explains, I guess, why so many of them showed up over this.
Right.
This is absolutely, literally looks ridiculous.
But at this point, they are. There's no violence yet, at least at this point. So hopefully that's where things continue to go. All right, the illegal alien who killed a St. Louis police officer is going to be sentenced today. KMOV's Morgan Harris has that story.
Back in October, Ramon Chavez Rodriguez pleaded guilty to a DWI that resulted in the death of a police officer. In 2024, that officer was responding to a traffic accident when Chavez Rodriguez crashed into him on I-70 in North St. Louis. 44-year-old officer David Lee, an 18-year veteran of SLMPD, was killed in the crash. It turns out Chavez Rodriguez was out on bond for a domestic assault case when he hit and killed Officer Lee.
And that sentencing is set for 1 p.m. today. I suspect he's going to get a very lengthy sentence.
Yeah, throw him under the jail. I mean,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to tell you in tomorrow's news update what happened on that. Okay, it looks like the Kansas City Royals are going to end up staying in the Show Me State, even though they don't want to.
Ha ha.
Multiple reports out of Kansas say the state officials there have told the team they are no longer interested in making a deal to lure them out of Missouri. One state official tells media not just in Topeka, Kansas, but also in the Kansas City area, that the Royals contacted them after the December 31st deadline, so within the last week, and asking about making a deal for public financing of a new stadium. So the state of Kansas had said, hey, we're willing to make a deal. We're willing to float these bonds, publicly finance them. And it didn't happen. The Royals didn't move on it. Well, the Chiefs got a, $3 billion deal. And now the Royals apparently said, okay, we got the offer from Missouri. Hey, let's go ahead and make a deal. Kansas said, nah, no thanks. We're moving on.
Yes,
is what they were told.
You lose.
Yep. And also those who were trying to put together a public financing deal, because the corporate welfare that the Royals were offered was to build a new stadium. And now the place that they were looking at for that says we're not interested anymore either. So the Royals, it appears, are going to lose out and not get that corporate welfare. And I'm 100% happy about that. And they can stay put right where they are.
About a major backfiring and trying to leverage things. I mean, holy moly.
But that's the good word. They were trying to leverage it. I think it shows that they did not want to stay in that community. They did not want to stay in Missouri, but they were demanding a corporate welfare handout. Unfortunately, the state government offered them one, and now they're going to lose out on all of it because they didn't do a good job leveraging it to get something better. So they could have moved to another area and had the state give them corporate welfare and build them a new stadium or most of a new stadium. And so it looks like they screwed that up. So they're going to be at Kauffman Stadium for the foreseeable future.
Womp womp.
All right, the Blues got beat like a tourist on the L train last night.
You're not wrong.
Oh, man. Final score in Chicago was Blues 3, Blackhawks 7. 7 goals in an NHL game? Good Lord. Up next for the Blues is another road game on Friday. They're going to be in Utah to play the Mammoth.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Always be yourself unless you suck.
On NewsTalkSTL. The Morning News Dump, brought to you by the Nutrition Stop. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking highs into the mid-60s, and we've issued a first alert weather day as we're tracking the potential for some showers and storms that could become strong to severe during the afternoon, evening, and early overnight hours. That'll look to clear into early Friday morning, mid-50s for Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy. Then into Saturday morning early, could see some chances of showers and some light flurries possible. Highs into the mid-40s, cooling into the weekend. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
News commentary with Will Kane next.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
Here's Will Kane.
All the left really has to offer anymore is anti-Trumpism. Have you seen the way the left has responded to this latest, honestly, victory? Well, they're now championing Nicolas Maduro. They're literally arguing for the release and some circles of Nicolas Maduro. And these are the people at higher levels of power, like Senator Chris Murphy, who, because his only worldview is in opposition of Donald Trump, because his only worldview is anti-Trumpism, can't reconcile with himself from 6 years ago when he criticized Donald Trump for not being involved in Venezuela. But today, Senator Chris Murphy criticizes Donald Trump for illegal actions to capture Nicolas Maduro, and he's not alone. He's also joined in his criticism today by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He criticizes President Trump because the only guiding light for these politicians, for the left, for Democrats, is anti-Trumpism. It's not pro-Venezuela.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Make your holiday special with Anthony's Produce, serving our community for over 28 years. Order fresh fruit and vegetable trays for work parties, family gatherings, and celebrations. Send chocolate-covered strawberries or a stunning fruit bouquet to someone you love. Plus, get seasoned firewood for pickup or delivery to keep your home cozy all winter long. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Order online at anthonysproduce.com or call 636-936-0496 on Jungerman Road in St. Peters.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Guys, don't propose with a ring that she didn't pick out. Trust us, she already has a ring in mind. So engage with Gage Diamonds, in person or online, where Gage's skilled ring designers will work with her to create the perfect setting, matched with the perfect stone. Gage specializes in exquisite lab-grown diamonds. Financing available. GageDiamonds.com. We're engagement's middle name.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime. News Talk STL right on my phone. Anywhere.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
And there we go in Minneapolis. Things are getting ugly there. So just moments ago, we talked about people were, being ugly, but they were backing up. Well, somebody decided they started to push back, and a limited small amount of tear gas was just deployed, and a whole lot of people have been, pushed down by law enforcement because they decided to advance on police.
So for context, quite literally what people have been seen on camera doing is that they are walking up to law enforcement who are standing their own ground, and then they are intentionally provoking them to get pushed around.
Yeah.
And then they sit there. Now this guy's clearly having a bad day now, and that probably does not feel good. It definitely does not taste good, and great decision-making skills, buddy.
Right. And then there was one other, that fat, 60 or 70-something-year-old guy there. He's been knocked down 3 or 4 times. He seems to see where the cameras are, and he's playing victim.
A lot of this is it's performative. It's like a bunch of retirees and elderly or middle-aged.
And then the one guy in the frog costume.
Yeah, well, the frog guy is just kind of hanging out. I like him, but there are a couple people I've spotted where they will walk straight up to the law enforcement. They turn their backs on him, lean backwards into him, and then they get shoved down. And then they notice that the cameras are on them, so they're playing like they're victims. This is so performative.
So bottom line, what we've got here is in Minneapolis, we've got a very large, there's hundreds of people there. That's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Up against a line of law enforcement who are protecting whatever property they're protecting up there. And up until right before that last information segment, they were yelling, screaming, calling names, have their signs, whatever. But when the police were saying back up, they were generally backing up.
Yeah,
doing
most were peaceful.
That changed a few minutes ago, and so they advanced. They got knocked down. It looks like one round of tear gas was deployed, or pepper spray or whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a massive.
No,
so it was just a little small container of it.
And that backed people up. And so now it looks like they're back to restoring the order. So law enforcement kind of got a handle on it. but there's still the potential for whatever's going to happen. But at the moment, it's gone back to being peaceful at the moment.
And then we're in pretty short amount of time, I'm sure there's going to be all over social media. Look at how these protesters are being treated by law enforcement. Well, no, we're watching this in real time. It's quite literally it's not all of them, but there have been handfuls of people intentionally antagonizing
the agitators.
They're agitating, and then they're going to milk it online and just we're going to be talking about it in the news later. So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So so we'll keep an eye on this here, obviously. But at the moment, law enforcement is holding their ground and keeping it as non-violent as can be, but there are clearly agitators who want this to turn into a riot.
Oh yeah, and now Corporeal Being's asking if they get more Soros dollars if they do get pushed by law enforcement.
Yeah,
so maybe they're just milking the Soros bucks.
Yeah, so this is happening right now. We're just watching that stream. All right, if something changes here in the next few minutes, we will we'll update you on that. And then there's one guy in the inflatable frog suit.
Yeah, I want to know what the frog.
I'm not
guy's
sure
up
what
to.
the frog suit's all about.
He seems like he's just hanging out, having.
See,
a good time.
all they got to do is just poke a little hole in it. That's all they got to do.
Well, and it's one of those big Phillip ones.
Right.
So there might be a fan in there. You get a little squirt in the fan, and he's stuck in the suit.
Go.
Yeah,
precisely. All right, 8:38 right now. You know the Consumer Electronics Show's going on in Vegas right now.
Oh,
and this is the year where somebody goes around. They're like, okay, what are all the weird, crazy things that are being developed or being demonstrated at the Consumer Electronics Show? And so a variety of like Mashable and Washington Post and, ZDNet and some of the tech, coverage, they went out there and said, here are some of the things that they want to either put on the market or on the market that they're promoting right now. And so they found like a few of the weirdest ones out there. So let me see here. Here's one. I don't like this. I can see where it would be helpful in some cases. A clip-on device that remembers your conversations.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either. So it's small enough to clip onto your shirt. It summarizes, so it's an AI thing, summarizes work calls or settles arguments when your spouse says, no, that's not what I said. Let me tell you something. Presenting evidence of no, that's not what I said does not settle or end arguments.
Trying to present evidence of somebody being wrong to somebody that does not think or will not accept being wrong.
No.
Typically makes it worse.
No. Okay, how about this one? This is interesting. A robot vacuum. So you got like Roombas. Those aren't new. This one climbs stairs because it has some legs that operate. So it will go and then hit a stair and then climb up the stair and then go do the other room.
That's interesting, I suppose.
This is kind of like peak American laziness.
I mean, I have been places that have carpeted stairs, and you can do just the bare amount of maintenance to keep them clean. You don't need a whole dedicated stair climbing vacuum for that, though, do you?
Now here's a good one though. I like this one: a portable food allergy detector.
Okay, that one I can see having.
So you can take it to a restaurant, and because for instance, I have one allergy. One thing that I there's one category I cannot eat.
Achilles heel.
I have one. And unfortunately, if I have even had times where I do not order that, but I found out later that when we tell them, hey, I cannot eat shellfish or seafood, which sucks because it's some of the healthiest stuff you can eat. But if they use the same tongs on that as they do on my whatever, just that transfer can affect me. And I found out the hard way a few times.
Well, because I'm sure there might be some listeners that listen out of anger and spite. So you just told them.
I just told them how to kill me, basically. But this right here, you would be able to basically, I guess, detect to make sure nothing like that's on there. That's really helpful. And especially if you're like a kid or something who's got, now there's a lot of allergies I think that we have been artificially generating. It's not that the kids don't have them, it's that they shouldn't, because that's a whole other thing.
Like with peanuts becoming worse now.
Yeah, that's
weird.
Now,
there was a case of somebody at either Disney resort or a cruise or something that actually had that happen. They were exposed to something they were allergic to and they passed away from it. So I can imagine that specific device being handy for people like that.
How about this one? AI mirrors.
What?
Okay, so there's one that helps someone do their makeup, apparently giving you feedback, and another that scans your face to monitor your health.
Interesting.
I don't like it.
I don't trust it. I would never come to anybody's house that has one of those. But I can see if you were like a hairstylist or a makeup artist and you had clients coming in and it's like, well, here's what you could look like with these different. Maybe there's some application, but no, that's not going in my house.
Okay, AI gaming and work companions. So there's a company called Razer that they have a desktop hologram that watches you do your gaming and gives you advice in real time.
So I know people personally that would probably actually buy
Probably
one
a
of those.
massive market for that.
There would be a huge market for that.
Now, speaking of gaming, here's this next one that I think is just bizarre. They're gaming headphones, which I know were a big thing. That's like,
yeah, they're cool.
Hundreds of dollars. I mean, these are really high tech. This one claims to scan your brain waves to track your focus, your reaction speed, and your cognitive load, and basically headphones that read your mind.
That's a very bold claim.
Yeah.
I would actually like to learn more about that, but no, that's also not going on my head. I'll stick with the old school.
No. How about AI-powered hair clippers? So you load into the app what you want your hairstyle to look like, and the blades will adjust while you run it over your head to give you that haircut.
Nothing wrong could possibly come from that, could it?
No, not in the least bit.
Not just a bad haircut either.
We're all going to end up looking like Ethan Way, our sales guy.
Oh,
who just walked away. He has a buzz cut. Okay. Now this one's actually kind of interesting. Talking AI picture frames. Okay. A company called Vinabot came up with a digital picture frame that can have conversations with you. They're inspired by the scene in the Harry Potter movies.
Makes sense.
So you could, if I'm reading this right, you could like put a picture of whoever on there, and maybe load some information. And I don't like having conversations with inanimate anything or AI, but I think that could be interesting amusement and conversation starters.
I mean, it could be like a fun gag type thing if you did it with, I guess, famous people or something. But it just reminds me of earlier last year where that couple made a AI version of their dead kid to talk about gun control. That was so creepy.
That
creeped me out. This sort of thing too. I don't want my deceased grandmother. I love her and I miss her, but I don't want her in the middle of the night trying to have conversations with me.
No, exactly. Corporeal being, and I don't know which one he's responding to on this. He said only if there's no way the data could be sent back to anyone and it's totally offline. Here's the thing. None of this stuff's going to be totally offline.
No, and it's probably going to come with an app so they can access your phone data. Yeah, I don't trust it.
The product that I'm talking about here, that's not the product. Your data is the product.
Yeah.
That's where it is. It's like social media. Why is it free to set up the accounts when they spend hundreds of millions of dollars to run these networks and social media accounts? Because you're the product. Social media is not the product. You're the product.
See, I just want to go back to that period of consumerist history, like Cold War era, where they were coming up with like new crazy toasters and refrigerators and cool cars. Like, well, let's go back to that and not everything designed to spy on you and steal your information.
Okay, so the number one weird thing at the Consumer Electronics Show, a company called Lollipop Star, literally make what they make, candy, lollipops. But each flavor plays a different song using bone conduction technology. So when you're eating the lollipop or you've got the lollipop in your mouth, it plays music and you only hear it when you bite down on the lollipop.
So there are kids' toothbrushes that work a similar kind of way.
No kidding.
So, I mean, that's already sort of a thing. I would not also want that at all, period. But, I mean, maybe if there was an AI lollipop that changes flavors based on the receptors in your tongue, I might invest in that. But no, I don't want a song playing when I'm eating.
Just playing music. And here's the thing. Just play the song off your phone.
Yeah,
you've got put it on a speaker. You don't need you don't need a $9 lollipop.
Just hum. You can hum a tune.
Right, something. Yeah, precisely. Oh my goodness. So so those are just some of the things that they're offering. I've never been to that. Apparently, it's not easy to get a ticket to that. It's a trade show, but a whole lot of people love to go to that. And I can see it'd be pretty cool, but it's kind of hard to get in from what I hear.
Now, maybe the people that do the brain reading headphones will team up with the lollipop people and then, figure out how to do that. I don't know. This is kind of a weird tech show.
Or go get healthier stuff from Nutrition Stop anyway, where they're not going to sell your data.
Exactly. Now, this is for real this time, the final call for 80s bump music that we're going to be playing for Flashback Friday. So I want the songs that are going to get the new year started off right, that get you worked up, pumped up, ready to conquer the world. Send them to me, your favorite 80s bump music request, to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
But all this confidence became so dark and I met you. I'm cooling on my face.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
My opinion is it's weird.
On News Talk STL.
Watch Network 2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
With all of the celebrations, anniversaries, and holidays coming up over the next few months, where are you going to go to get that special something for the special people in your life? Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, of course. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, found 24/7 at wowdiamonds.com. Tim Jones here to tell you all about Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Richard Newsteader and his team serving our region since 1961 with awesome, honest jewelry solutions. They've got everything from diamonds to wedding engagement rings, hand-engraved items, pendants, earrings, and so much more. You can find them 24/7, wowdiamonds.com. That's Newsteaders Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com.
Why are you going to work? It's Sunday.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL. JC's Sunday Showgram.
Bowie, Neil Peart, Jerry Berger, Super Dave, and Elvis all figure into our weekly look back. And it was 19 years ago this week that kidnapped victim Sean Hornbeck was found. I'll tell you what it was like to be in the Fox 2 newsroom that day. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday mornings, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on NewsTalkSTL.com.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
On the next, Larry Connors, USA.
Today's story behind the story, the death of KMOX legend Jack Carney, and the journalistic question his death raised.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, we're tracking a standoff right now between a bunch of left-wing protesters and what appears to be federal law enforcement. That did not look like local Minneapolis or Minnesota State Police, but it's in Minneapolis. And there's a standoff happening. So for the most part, this has been peaceful.
It started off. I mean, again, you had the people that were, flashing the bird and know, grrr.
Sure, yeah. Which, like you said, you got the First Amendment right to tell off a cop, whether that makes you a jerk or not. That's still your First Amendment right.
I mean, Jefferson was all about it as well. But they at least were staying. I think it was something like 15 feet away. They were staying behind the line. Everything. But then eventually, the people that have nothing better to do started showing up and causing problems.
Right. So they started advancing, and then originally police did the whole hands out, back up, guys, and they were getting yelled at and called names, had signs, but people were backing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the pushing and shoving that started, and there was some of that. And a few people got, they got thrown down and that's what happens. And then it looks like it's kind of been restored back. It looks like at least one round of pepper spray was deployed to back off some particularly aggressive left-wingers. And these are federal law enforcement. We saw a lot of the sort of paintball type guns, which I'm sure are being used either for the pepper spray or for rubber bullets or something like that.
And they have the cans of mace out as well.
Right, and they've got flashbang grenades that are accessible. And but we've also see the real deal. So they are prepared for things to get ugly. And so this is happening in Minneapolis, obviously in response to the shooting of the woman who drove her vehicle right at an ICE agent who then fired on her. And so that's where this is coming from. And so you've got this, that's like an 75, 80-year-old woman who's walking by and flipping off every, okay.
The entire...
That's a life well lived there, lady.
All the nursing homes in that area are at this protest right now.
Exactly.
And for some reason, again, this is what I'm trying to figure out. So if in your worldview, if what you believe happened was a law enforcement person, shot this lady in her car, point blank, unjustified.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decide you need to do something about that. Why would you then go to the people that in your worldview you believe to be these kinds of crazy maniac murderers and then start antagonizing? And not just like yelling at them, but some of these people were literally walking up and they were like bumping into them and leaning on them after they were told. So what decision-making skills get you to your point in life?
Yeah, so this is near some train station on one side, and then I don't know what kind of federal property or whatever that is on the other side. I'm assuming this is an ICE detention center, but that's just my guess. That's happening in Minneapolis. And so you got a lot of tough talk from all of these, keyboard warriors, but a few are trying to antagonize to do it. So police have been very, very restrained at this point here. But there's a lot of law enforcement, but there are hundreds and hundreds of these protesters. So potential to get really ugly, but so far it's been kept generally under control.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all the enhanced security that's showing up to back up the law enforcement. I mean, those would not be necessary if the people within the protest were doing more to keep control within their own side. Say, look, we're not going to be that way. We call them thugs. Let's not act like thugs ourselves.
So this all comes down to this tragedy that happened when ICE was doing some sort of enforcement operation. They were targeting somebody in Minneapolis, and it was in a residential area. A bunch of activists were chasing them around, doxing their location. The woman who ended up being shot, last name is Good, she had her vehicle sideways in the street, blocking in federal law enforcement.
And when you say blocking in, it's not that she cornered them like against a wall in an alleyway, but she was blocking them from being able to actually conduct their operation.
And to leave.
Yes.
And so her vehicle, her SUV, had them blocked in. So the federal agents got out, move. She disobeyed a number of. These are all just facts.
Yes.
Okay. These are. I'm not. This isn't my view of it. Told her to leave. Tried to. They told her to get out of the vehicle. Tried to open the vehicle. Get out of it. She put the vehicle in drive. Drove directly at an ICE agent, and that's when he fired. Okay. Those are all factual statements.
Yes.
Now you want to argue intent, or they should have fired or didn't fire or shouldn't have, that's fine. You can do that. But that is what happened, and it'll take you 2 seconds to find that video on social media.
Yeah, you can go on X and just put in the Minneapolis
Right.
slow-mo, because I've been looking at the slow-mo versions to make sure we're not missing anything. And it's clear as day. And yes, and I'm willing to accept that maybe she panicked. She was like, oh,
Sure.
no, my actions have consequences, and I'm
scared.
And I'm scared, or maybe I'm just going to try to divert him and get away. But the fact of the matter is based on all the available angles and everything, her vehicle was in fact headed directly for an officer in front of her.
Well, it hit him. It actually hit him.
And so in that moment, I mean, if she's allowed to panic and potentially endanger somebody, if you have a vehicle coming right at you unexpectedly, then you have moments to make a decision. And the training of law enforcement is when there's a threat, you have to neutralize the threat.
You end the threat. And so those are the facts. And, we've heard some people argue just what you said. Well, she was just scared. She panicked. It doesn't matter.
You can cause a lot of damage unintentionally by panicking.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is she put herself in that situation in the first place.
She was not the one that ICE would have had anything to do with. She intentionally sought from her own, again, lack of decision-making abilities to go out of her way to insert herself in a situation she didn't need to be in. And now it's the rest of her family and her friends and her loved ones that are all going to have to deal with this now. And look at, and this is now rippling, and you have these.
Does it look like there are more law enforcement now deployed out to this? It looks like their numbers are bigger. There are more uniforms out there.
Yeah, there are new. So
okay, it's a federal building. That's where they are. Federal building.
So again, these people who believe that everybody that they're yelling at right now are potentially monstrous maniac murderers, and their idea is to show up and then antagonize them, and that's great. Fantastic line of reasoning, people.
If you're just now joining us, what we're watching is a live stream that's coming out of Minneapolis outside of a federal building where hundreds, easily we can say hundreds of anti-ICE, anti-federal government protesters are in a standoff right now with law enforcement, federal law enforcement. A few skirmishes, a little pushing and shoving, a few old people get thrown to the ground because the young people talk tough, but they're not the ones up the front trying to do it. The old people,
just loud,
the old people are playing up the victim, and because that's part of the tactic is you put the frail or you put the old people up there. Then they look at how monstrous they are. Well, you're the ones who were shoving and pushing first. Yeah. So a little bit of what appears to be some pepper spray deployed. Other than that, a little bit of pushing and shoving, and just peaceful, a bunch of yelling and screaming and name calling and bird flipping and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you have relatives that are in Minneapolis right now, make sure go ask them. Say, hey, can you check on Grandma to make sure she's not out there antagonizing law enforcement right now?
Precisely. Yeah. So a lot of performative actions going on, but this is something to keep track of because the wrong Antifa types or whoever figure out that, hey, we got a powder keg. Let's go start something. It would not be hard to do it there because they are equipped to get going here. So a lot of backpacks, a lot of stuff there. So we'll see what happens.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi,